Okay. So hello to anyone who is replaying this. I don't think we're actually live yet, but I'm very, very excited about this interview. I'm also a little bit nervous because I've said before, you intimidate me.
What?
I don't know. I guess I'm easily intimidated. I said this when I first met Izzy, I told her I was very intimidated by her. But I don't know. I just feel like you're so much smarter than me, and I'm always afraid of sounding stupid.
No,
So.
no, never that. I promise, never that.
But I am also desperately in love with your personality and your videos, so I'm very excited to pick your brain and ask you these way too personal questions that you can absolutely skip if you don't want to answer.
Listen, I've been watching all of them like, okay, well, what is she going to ask me? What is she going to ask me? What is she going to ask me?
They're all the same. They're all the same.
Okay.
I mean, I may have follow-up questions here and there, but I try and keep them pretty much the same. It's almost like a tag video kind of thing, but where you ask the same questions, everyone has their answers. But I purposely chose questions that I felt like people could get to know you if by chance people on here don't already know who you are. By the way, everything is listed down below. But yeah, so Ashley is here. She is going to be the subject of my interrogation, and I'm very, very excited about it. I was trying to think about when I first started watching your videos, and I think it was a couple of years ago, and I'm trying to think about how I found you, and I think it was a bunch of people were sharing your videos because you have these great discussion videos, and I would click on them and watch them like, oh my gosh, the first one that I watch, I don't even remember which one it was, but I was just like immediately subscribe. And I feel like anyone who starts watching your videos will feel that way because you have so many just like super high quality conversations about really important subjects. And you have just like great thoughts about it. So, and I'm sure this interview will, anyone who hasn't already subscribed, this interview will convince them to. All right, so let's start with introduction. So I guess introduce yourself and where people can find you on the internet.
Okay, so I'm Ashley, also known as Bookish Realm everywhere. The only place I'm not, I have a TikTok, but I leave that to other people. I can't. TikTok is just not my platform. It's not for me. And have finally accepted in my soul that TikTok is just not. It's not for me. So
I feel that.
But it's Bookish Realm on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube. I do have a second channel now, which is Realm of Comics, where I discuss everything that's comics, graphic novels, and manga.
I love it. So I feel like you're mostly present on YouTube. Would you say that's your
I'm mostly present, and Instagram stories. I think Instagram stories is probably where I get a little bit more personal. But as far as like content production, yeah, YouTube. I'm super active on Goodreads too, but that's just for review purposes and dealing with publishers. Yeah. Oh, Shay. Thank you, love.
It's true. Very thought-provoking. What's up? Yay, I'm glad you guys are here. Okay, so what is your BookTube/Bookstagram origin story? How did you decide to start a BookTube channel?
Oh, God. Okay, so this is it's the most random thing in the world. I had been an avid reader as a kid. By the time I got into, college, who has time to read for pleasure when you're like in the full swing of classes? So I had just graduated with my first master's degree. And for some reason, I got on YouTube and Googled or searched bookshelf tour. It was the most random thing in the world. And then all of a sudden, all of these booktube videos started coming up. And this is 2014. So I was like, oh my gosh, people do this? Like this is a
like
thing.
This is a thing.
Yeah, this is a thing that people do. And I was mind blown. So I was like, oh, I think I can do this, or I want to do this. Like, I like to read, I can do this. And I mean, I dabbled and kind of like played with it for a few years, trying to get quality up, my sound. I mean, all those videos are hidden, but like I was recording on my laptop at one point, and then I feel like I found out about Bookstagram maybe not too long after that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I decided to create a Bookstagram account, and brainstorm on Bookish Realm came into existence. But it was just so much going on from 2014 to 2018. So I was never consistent. But 2018 is the point where I really started becoming a little bit more serious about my content.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and even after I had my daughter, I became a little bit more serious. So I've been around since 2014, but consistency wise, like 2018.
What was the turning point for you that made you want to start, like, really dedicate time to it?
Because I felt like, if this was something, I've always been the type of person, which is almost kind of anti Virgo of me, where I feel like I've jumped from hobby to hobby. Like, I want to do this. Like, I remember wanting to do scrapbooking, wanting to do
Yep,
journaling.
that's
And then
me.
I was like, no, Ashley, like, come on, like, get it together. You're an adult now.
Mm-hmm.
Get your life together. You need to focus on one thing. And reading at that point had, especially in 2018, reading had become, because I was going through a lot in 2018. So um, reading had become like my sanctuary.
Mm-hmm.
And because it became my sanctuary, I feel like that's why I ended up starting to take it a little bit more seriously, because it was
Mm-hmm.
playing such a big role in my life at that point. Like, I know people always say, like, oh yeah, like, I love reading, da da da. But like, I always tell people, when I say like reading saved my life, I genuinely,
Mm-hmm.
genuinely do mean that reading did save my life at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh, thank you.
It
I
is. Doesn't it
I
look great
mentioned
on her?
I mentioned this because I talked about this with Ashley right before we went live. I put it on because Ashley is known for her epic lipstick choices, which some of them, if I were to wear them, I would look like a corpse. But on you, it looks flawless.
Thank you.
All the Virgos in the house right now.
May is my we found out during May's birthday that
Yeah.
we are secret long lost. You remember that? You were
Yeah.
there. Secret long lost twins.
Like, so random. Every, like, little weird
Every
things
little
you guys.
thing. Yeah, yeah. It's strange. Strangest thing.
Okay, so I already said that you have a lot of long form discussions, but what are other types of content that you make on your YouTube channel?
So it's amazing. I feel like I'm all over the place with my content. Really. I think I'm better known now at this point for my discussions.
Mm-hmm.
I do sometimes consistently. October has been a mess, so I haven't done it yet. But the recent reads thing, you know that I do the recent
Mm-hmm.
reads. Um, I was doing a lot of comic and graphic novel um and manga kind of content, but I separated that now and decided to take that over to, yeah, I do that too. And take that
It's
over to
true.
a completely different channel.
Channel. Mm-hmm.
But I do like reviewing, and usually with a lot of my reviews, I kind of try to go into a deeper analysis of the text. Like, a new series that I just started on my channel is going back and rereading children's works that have been now more recently considered problematic,
Mm-hmm.
and looking at the context of the material in comparison to when it was published, and how we should be viewing that content now, and what are some things that people can be doing in terms of like reading things that give them a better scope, or pairing things, or if you want to read something instead of. Do a lot of
Mm-hmm.
library discussion based stuff, because I am a librarian. That's, books literally are my life. I literally
Mm-hmm.
work all day around books, and I come home and I'm around books.
Do you ever get burnt out because of that?
Mm-mm. Because the
No,
work
I
that I
love that.
do is so different. And sometimes the work that I do in this community informs my job, and sometimes my job informs what I do here. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a they very much so, they parallel each other. They don't always cross paths, but sometimes I get content ideas from being at work, and sometimes some of the stuff that I see in the community informs what I end up doing at my job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. And you also do, but your reading blogs are great because your recent reads, you do reading
Mhm.
blog style,
Yeah.
which I really
Yeah.
like also. And then were you doing do you still do your wrap up videos?
So yeah, so I do my wrap ups a little differently now, because goodness gracious, they were like feature full length films. at one point. Like an hour
No.
and a half, an hour and 45 minutes. I was like, editing those things was just such a tragedy that I was like, I can't. So now with my wrap ups, I do top 5
That's right.
favorite or top 5 disappointing. And so people don't have to watch me review, 30, 40 books in one
In
sitting.
one video, yeah.
Yeah.
And like you like kind of cut it down. You can't really dig into it like you like
No.
to, like you
Yeah.
can do in recent reads videos. So yeah,
Yeah.
that makes
Yeah.
sense. You
Yeah.
also react to different things like lists and
Yes.
stuff.
Yes.
Those are some of my favorites too.
I do reaction videos, which I love because they're usually horrible. Although the last one I did, which was a BuzzFeed one that I thought was they were going to make a list of the most important children's books. And it ended up being like people saying, "Oh, these books changed my life." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so heartwarming." So that was the first time I did a reaction. I was like, actually, this was good. Like,
Yes, I remember. I watched that one.
because every time I do a reaction to list, I'm like, man, like I just
Yeah.
I would just stop doing this because at the end of the day, these lists are garbage. Like I don't know
And
who to
you're able to like predict them before you even look at them. You're like, it's probably gonna have this and this and this, and you were right every single time.
It always does without. I feel like it's the same circle of people making these lists and they must talk to each other. But
Yeah.
that one BuzzFeed, it was really good. I was like, I can't argue with this one. This was heartfelt and emotional.
Yeah. Bree wants to know if you're going to read Lemony Snicket. The Lemony Snickety.
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 Bree, I don't know because it's not so much the content of that one as it is the author. So I don't know if that one, with the ones that I've been looking at lately, it's been a lot of the content has been problematic. But I mean, that's not to say that I couldn't look at that one, but I hadn't considered that one on my list per se. I think the next one that I was thinking about doing was Dr. Seuss, only because I had just done the last year, like, oh, we're canceling Dr. Seuss. That was
I remember that.
Yeah, that was a fun one to make. So I was thinking about possibly doing Dr. Seuss next. Somebody in the comments had suggested like looking at the American Girl series because they touch on so many different characters from so many different racial and ethnic backgrounds, and wondering if they fall into like stereotypes or whether they are appropriately done. So
interesting. Yeah, I'd be interested to see what your thoughts are.
How those hold up.
Your Little House video in your new series made me pick it up again. So many things I didn't understand as a child, at least for what it really is.
Yeah, and that was part of my understanding of reading it as an adult, is because I read it as a kid and had no idea what I was reading. And now as an adult, I'm like, I really had to reread that section like so many different times because I was like, maybe I'm reaching and maybe I'm trying to make something that it's not. But I went on a Google search, like literally, like I read it and I was like, well, I need to look this up. And so I don't think people realize how much I do that. Like when I'm reading, like how much time I go on the internet and spend reading, like
you do your research.
The Around the World series that I'm doing. So I thought that I was going to be able to do 3 countries in a month.
That's ambitious.
It's not going to happen because I literally started with Venezuela and it's just been weeks of me spending time on the internet, reading articles, reading nonfiction stuff. It's been a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, so definitely yes to American Girl series.
Okay, so
I don't think I'm not familiar with them either, but I like watching your videos as a parent too, because you talk about all genres, like so diversely across age genres and all of that stuff. And especially when you talk about things like that, and especially like, cause you're talking about Little House on the Prairie and stuff, but you're like, okay, if you want something that's more diverse and is maybe better than this, here, try these books too. So you're not just like, this is problematic. But you're also, you're pretty unbiased about it because you're coming from a librarian's point of view too. And as a mother yourself, and then, like all these different aspects, which is awesome.
It makes it kind of, which is what I do for a living.
Yeah, exactly.
It does make it kind of interesting, kind of seeing all like all three, like being a content creator, being a librarian, and being a mother, and having, because all three of those come from very different lens and have very different feelings attached to them. And so trying to find the balance between all three of those sometimes is difficult.
But
Even
also
with
being a
the,
booktuber who's very in touch with the bookish community too, which I
yes,
think
that,
you don't cross that. That's not a big crossover for librarians. I think
yeah,
sometimes I think
yeah.
it's a little rare.
So it's, yeah, and it is. So you don't, it, and that's why I always say, like, with our community, I think we feel like it's bigger than what it really is. Because you cross over into librarianship and we don't, this community doesn't really exist in their minds. You know, they may have heard of it before, but they're not as in tune with it as we are. And so, but yes, I am a librarian. Specifically, I work in collection development. I do, in layman's terms, I do purchasing or selecting for all youth materials. So anything that publishers target for 0 to 18, I am responsible, whether that's an ebook, an e-audiobook, a physical book, DVDs, playaways, anything that any publisher or company gears for 0 to 18, I am responsible for purchasing, for accounting.
That's
So,
how do you choose like how do you narrow
oh,
it? Because you have to think about your specific area, right? It's not just like broadly.
so my where I work, and I try to keep it as non-specific as possible, only because I have an agreement with my job. Like, they don't have a problem with me doing this, but I just can't, I can't, I have to keep the two separate. Um, it's a very large county
Okay.
with a lot of locations. And there's only one of me. And so doing it for the county, the selection process is difficult. Um, so I don't see every single thing, but I see a vast majority of everything that gets published within a few months span. So, for example, this week I was doing selections for books that are being published in December. So I order for 2 months in advance. A lot of what I rely on, because clearly I'm not reading all that stuff, is definitely uh, professional reviews. So what we do here would not be considered
So you're not
professional
watching
reviews.
YouTube videos and
Not watching YouTube videos. Goodreads is not considered professional reviews. They come from professional journals like Kirkus, Publishers Weekly, Library Journal, School Library Journal. Um, I highly, highly lean on Kirkus because Kirkus gives a very straightforward, there was a book. Mariah Carey's publishing a new Christmas book this year. And I forget the name of the book, but in the Kirkus review, which they're not the nicest humans on the planet, Kirkus was like, all we want for Christmas is a more cohesive book. And I was like,
oh
see,
no.
that's very like, but it was so when I say professional reviews, I don't mean that they are always professional. What I mean is that it is a professional journal that we
Right.
are pulling from. But I do rely heavily on that stuff, and it is tedious. It is
I
tedious and
bet.
it's hard. I do orders twice a week. And usually they take up those 2 days that I'm doing it, it usually does take up a great portion of my day because I'm going through a few vendors and I'm going through just like shopping carts full of books. And I have to just decide, would this be a good fit for our community? And then not only that, if I do select it for the library, which locations get the book first? So what community within our community
Right.
would this book better serve? So it is a very, I was very naive before I got the job. The person who had the job before me, I asked her, I was like, so yeah, you order like once a month? She was like, no, actually twice a week.
Oh God.
I was like, oh God. I was like, what did I get myself into? They gave me the job description and everything, but like, you don't know what it's like to work in a collection development department until you are in a collection development department. Yeah, it's wild.
What about Charlie and the Chocolate
Yeah, I've
Factory?
heard rough things. I was gonna do Roald Dahl. I was gonna do a few of his because a few of his are ones that I loved growing up, and I know that if I read them now as an adult, it's gonna be a problem. So he was on the list, not just that one, but it was a few that I grew up reading, like James and the Giant Peach, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Matilda. Loved all of those, but I'm sure I won't feel the same way.
Let's see, check out the Ramona series and
I grew
Superfudge
up
series
reading
by
those
Judy
too. Yeah,
Blume.
Judy Blume. Yeah, I read Judy Blume's book Forever for Banned Books Week a few weeks ago, and it was definitely revolutionary for 70s. I will just put it at that.
You don't have to watch the video.
Thanks,
Very
Pat.
true.
Hey, hey, hey.
You see a lot of nonfiction available accessible for that age range specifically. Actually.
Yes. I mean, there's a lot less nonfiction, good nonfiction for teens, but for kids, it's a lot. The issue with nonfiction with any library right now is that you have the internet. And so a lot of kids are now turning to the internet for stuff as opposed to maybe when we were younger going to the library and checking out books because we had a research paper that we had to write. Everything is so accessible. But they really do have some fun things that do come out that, but it's always the stereotypical things that kids love. I don't know what it is. Anything that has sharks, dinosaurs, anything that's National Geographic, anything that's DK, Lego, like Minecraft, all that stuff is
Oh
considered
my gosh,
nonfiction.
Minecraft.
Yeah, all that stuff is considered nonfiction. All of that stuff still moves, but like biographies, it has to be somebody that they're really, really interested in. I would say like puberty books always do very, very well. But like the poetry books and stuff, like kids are just not picking those up the same way. Yeah.
I don't think Matilda has anything blatant in it, but it's been a couple of years, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Chris.
Okay. What did you want to do when you were growing up?
I wanted to be a nurse.
A nurse? Why? What made you just decide a nurse?
I have no idea.
Just on a list and you decided.
I just wanted to be a nurse. And then I became a candy striper. And that dream changed very quick.
I bet.
Then I wanted to be a linguist. And yeah, I didn't feel like I was cut out for that. And then I wanted to be a historian. And then I realized, what am I going to do with a bachelor's degree in history?
Right. Might be fun to get that degree, but
oh, it was definitely interesting getting it, but there was nothing that I could do with it after. So yeah, I definitely thought I was going to be. Oh, I wanted to be a chef too. That quickly went down the drain as well. So I don't know. I was all over the place as a kid.
Me too. Yeah. Okay, so what is the very first thing you typically do in the morning and the very last thing you do at night?
Oh, so I've changed my routine this week. So the first thing I've been getting up and doing this week is literally get up, use the bathroom, come downstairs, well, change out of pajamas into gym clothes, and I come downstairs and work out.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's been giving me it's been giving me better energy throughout the day. I just felt really like sluggish, and I was doing a lot of like more health conscious stuff. And with me, I have to be very careful about how I frame some of that stuff. Just being more health conscious. And I was doing that so much before the move. And then the move happened. And the move made me feel like my life was falling apart. So that routine kind of went out the window. But like last week, I just felt like, I don't know, sluggish and just, ugh. So I was like, all right, this is your signal. Your body needs to be back into that routine. So that's the first thing I do in the morning. And the very last thing I do at night is literally when I get in the bed, I turn off the lights, I turn on my audiobook and set the 30-minute timer so I can go to sleep. I cannot go to sleep without an audiobook. Unless
I need to start. I need to start setting the timer because mine just keeps going, and
It
then
keeps going.
I'll wake up at in the middle of the night, and like a random thing will be happening. I'm like, what? What's happening? It's very disorienting.
No, no. I have to set that 30-minute timer because I usually I think I fall asleep within like 5 to 10 minutes of the audiobook playing. And so it's like, yeah, I gotta set the 30-minute because at least I know that when I wake up, all I have to do is go back 30 minutes. Yeah, that's it.
Or like 20 minutes. Yeah. Oh, I love this. It seems like it's a community nursing job, being a librarian.
Thank you.
Well, or this is what happens.
Or this is what happens. Either because it's been time. Well, it was at one time Bree was like, call me to wake me up in the morning. Call Bree 2 times. Bree didn't answer the phone. Then it was this past weekend. I was like, Bree, let's get on a StreamYard real quick. And sure enough, we were watching Teen Mom. we were watching Teen Mom. And Bree was like, yo, you were snoring. I was like, and then I woke up again, and I guess I had turned it off. And she's like, why'd you turn it off? I said, you were sleeping. She was like, no, you were sleeping. You were snoring. And then I put it back on, and then I woke back up, and she was gone.
Well, apparently it's happening again tonight.
Yes, we can do that tonight.
Okay. Your favorite restaurant and your go-to order there.
This is so basic of me, but I love Olive Garden.
Okay. I love Olive Garden too. I can't really eat anything there anymore, but I love it.
People
soup, salad, and breadsticks.
People think I'm so basic for that. They're like, ew.
You're fake Italian.
Yeah, you're fake Italian. I'm like, I know, but so I love their create your own. I always do create your own with salad as my option, and then I love their Alfredo sauce.
Their Alfredo sauce is so good. I get that to dip. I used to get that to dip the breadsticks
in. Yes. It's so good.
So what do you create? What's your create your own? What is it?
So I keep it really basic. I do spaghetti with the 4-cheese marinara, and then I do Italian sausage.
Okay.
Super
so basic.
So it's so basic.
Endless soup and bread. I'm telling you, it is dangerous.
It is dangerous. It's dangerous.
My brother was in Italy like a couple of years ago, and he was sending pictures and stuff. And then my mom and I had gone to Olive Garden. We're like, well, look where we are. So you may be in Italy, but
we have Olive Garden.
He was like, I hate you guys.
Oh.
Okay, we are going to start making the Ashley playlist. So go into your music app and tell me your most played songs recently. And if you don't know where to look for it, just off the top of your head, if you remember what songs you played recently.
So can I do that in Apple Music?
I feel like they create like a playlist for you, maybe. I think if you go and browse, I was looking at it the other day. Maybe it's in Listen Now. Your recently played. Yeah, if you go to Listen Now, which is the first thing, and then go to recently played and see all.
Oh, okay. Listen Now. Recently. Okay. Well, my top picks automatically is Rod Wave.
Of course.
But let me see. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't say. Okay, it doesn't tell me like it's not telling me like top songs or anything like that. But I definitely have been listening to a lot of Rod Wave. I think everybody pretty much knows that right now.
I was gonna have people guess, but
it's just like everybody knows that at this point that I listen to Rod Wave. My child, so in the morning, my child and I have been listening to Ed Sheeran's latest album. Like she loves it and sings
my
it.
Girls do too.
Top to bottom. So that is kind of like our morning playlist. We listen to his entire album. Her favorite songs, which inevitably ends up being the songs that I listen to the most.
Yeah.
She loves Shivers.
Oh, my girls, that's their favorite song, Shivers.
She loves Shivers. When we went to Pride this past weekend, they had a drag story time. and
Oh.
one of the drag queens was singing Shivers, and she was over by the coloring station. And then she looked up and she's like,
Like
Mommy,
perks up.
Mommy, Mommy, who's playing this song?
She's like, it's my jam.
It's my song. So Shivers, she loves, and then Collide and Stop the Rain are like her top 3 off the album. So I've listened to those a lot. And Hocus Pocus 2 soundtrack.
Oh man, I am so glad. Like my replay, like you know how Apple does the replay, it is full of like a couple of my songs, but then the rest of the girls' songs. And I'm just like,
I feel like, because see, I get to listen to my music maybe when I'm here.
right.
But honestly, like when we're in the car, when I'm taking her to school, we're listening to what she enjoys and what I think is appropriate for her to be listening to. Like, I'm not going to play Rod Wave while my 3-year-old is in the car.
Right.
But then when I go to work and stuff, I'm listening to an audiobook. So most of what I like, she loves Hocus Pocus 2, and she loves The Witches Are Back in one way or another. That's her jam. So I guess is what I've been listening to recently.
It's very skewed by children. I feel
it is very skewed.
Although I did find a few like podcasts that the girls like listening to, because we have a 40-minute drive to their school like every single day. Jeez. So we listen to podcasts, and that's what we've been listening to recently. But otherwise, it's they like Broadway. Like we listen to Hamilton and the In the Heights soundtrack over and over and over again for a long time. But
she likes Hamilton too. Hamilton
does she?
One. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it was one day I was like, "Do you feel like watching anything?" She was like, "Yeah, Hamilton." Hamilton.
Good taste.
Good taste.
All right, so we have several songs here. A song you sing at karaoke, one that gets you motivated, one that makes you cry, gives you butterflies, and will get you on the dance floor.
Okay, a song I sing at karaoke, Killing Me Softly by the Fugees, although it's not originally theirs, but their version of it. A song that gets me motivated.
The Witches Are Back.
Let me throw it back. I am done. I'm done. A song that gets me motivated. Brie, I saw this question. I was like, no, I'm just going to answer it when I get on the screen. If she asked me this question.
These are hard questions to answer off the top of your head, which is why I was very surprised when you wanted to go off the fly.
This is hard to answer off the top of your head. Honestly, right now, because not a song that had gotten me through some things, like earlier this summer, Never Get Over Me, as weird as that sounds, as like to be like a motivational song, by Rod Wave, like that song just, there was a lot of meaning for that one behind me that, you know, gave me some gusto. Motivated Christmas.
Brie has
I'm done. It's not that time yet. After Thanksgiving, the first song that I will be dropping the day after Thanksgiving is going to be Temptation, Silent Night. That's a song that makes you cry. Ooh. You know, weirdest thing. Katy Perry's song, Thinking of You, is a sad song that has made me cry. I feel like, because I feel like I've been in that situation before. And so that song just is, and the music video that is tied to that song is so sad. So that song definitely has made me cry a few times. A song that gives you butterflies.
You know, a song that's kind of like that is Happier by it's like the music sounds like it's happy, but it's talking about like, I know that you'd be happier with somebody else, and like, you know, I want you to be happy. I know you'd be happier with someone else. And
is that Ed Sheeran's song Happier?
No, it's that one too, but that one's sad too. But it's
that one's sad too.
Yeah, I know. I forget who it is. Oh, I have to look it up. Did you say the song that you'd sing at karaoke?
Killing Me Softly by the Fugees.
Oh, that's right. Oh, Happier is by Marshmello and Bastille.
Okay. Oh gosh. Of course. Look who's singing the song.
I know. Yes, thank you, Chris.
Song that gives me butterflies. Ooh.
Teenage Dream.
Ooh. Give Me Love by Ed Sheeran.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
a good one.
yeah.
Ed Sheeran, I feel
Yeah.
like Ed Sheeran has a lot that are butterfly inducing.
Yeah, that one gives me I think the lyrics behind that one and then the composition of the music it's a phenomenal. If y'all have
And
never
his
listened to
freaking
that song.
voice.
Yes, yes. My, give me love. I said,
Everyone has an
yeah,
Ed song
everybody
too.
has an Ed song.
All right, and then one that'll get you on the dance floor.
Now, see, there's a lot.
I know. It doesn't take much, honestly.
It doesn't take much. You know what song has been on my mind lately? And it's only a handful of people that caught the reference in my last video. Not the one I posted today, but the one I posted on Tuesday. And that's Cry Mob's Rock Your Hips. I was making a reference to Diamond's part where I got 32 flavors of that bootylicious bubble gum. Like nobody got it. It was like 3 people who like put the lyrics in my comments, and I was like, "See, I rock with y'all," because you knew where I was going with that. That's definitely a song because I used to know the dance to the whole video and everything. It's a shame. That's an old song. That's 2000s.
Bria's answering these questions as well. No one asked, but I answered. She didn't see that video.
It's fine, Bria. You've been busy. You've been busy.
All right. Do you listen to podcasts?
I do.
Okay. What are the last 5 or the most recent 5 podcasts you're subscribed to?
Let me look. I am. Come on, Ash. Okay. There's only 4 that I listen to.
Okay.
They haven't updated anymore, but the Black Romance podcast, Comics from the Multiverse, Manga Splaining, and the Read Me Romance. Yeah, and the Read Me Romance podcast.
Oh, it's sad that the first one doesn't update anymore. But...
Yeah, it doesn't update it. The last time they updated was in 2021. But the Manga Splaining one is fun because it follows a comic writer, Chip Zdarsky, who has never read manga.
Oh.
And so they get him to read like the first volume of certain series and then they discuss it on the podcast.
I love those kind of podcasts where you have like one person who has like read or listened to something or watched, and then the other person who's new to it.
Yeah, that's good.
And especially if you're someone who loves whatever subject that is, like manga or something, like having someone watch or listen to someone experiencing it for the first time.
And that's what they were saying. They were like, how have you never because he writes for DC, he's written for Marvel, he's done indie stuff.
Wow.
And they're like, how have you never read any manga? And he was like, I don't know. That's what happened.
I bet he has good insight on it then, having done all that stuff.
Yeah,
too.
he does. It's just
like
it's interesting. It's interesting hearing a American comic writer read manga, which is nothing more than Japanese comics. So know, it's interesting.
All right, so this one's pretty telling. YouTube watch history, last 5 videos you watched. You can explain yourself if it's or you can just throw it out there.
Oh, yikes. Yikes. Do I really want to do this? Oh, Jesus.
We'll see what rabbit hole you fell down.
Okay. So today I've watched the Grow with Joe, which was the workout video that I did. I also ended up watching Christy Reads a Lot.
Mm-hmm.
I watched her fall book haul. I watched Emmy's. I tried Unhinged romance books.
Oh, I bet that's good.
I watched Shay's. I tried 18 manga series, so you don't have to. And I watched Belle's middle grade library reading vlog number 32.
Okay, see, that wasn't that bad.
Listen,
I know.
I'll never. It is a lot of. It is a lot. I'm like,
Because you're like, oh God, what have I watched?
well, I have it because I couldn't remember like because I sporadically watch BookTube. Like if I have a down moment, or I'm
Me too.
listening while I'm cleaning and stuff like that. It
Mm-hmm.
so I never know. And then if I'm watching on my TV, it starts auto. So I don't know. Like sometimes I end up watching somebody's videos and I'm like, I'm not really.
How did I get here?
How did I get here?
All right, so I have a couple more questions similar to this one.
Okay.
Text message that you sent, and you can explain yourself, or you can give context, or you don't have to give context.
Okay, so LMAO, I love it too.
Context? Are you gonna give context?
The context is I was texted, I love your introduction beat on YouTube. And I just said LMAO, I love it too.
I watch a lot of videos. This is what I'm saying. I watch a lot of weird videos sometimes. Primarily if my teeth hurt. I feel like that would be triggering if I had a toothache to watch something like that. BookTube. I know.
Yeah.
I'm bad. Like I go through phases. Like some days I'll watch a bunch and then I won't watch it for a couple of days because it depends. Because like I'll be listening to an audiobook while I'm working or watching BookTube. Like I have to give up one or the other.
Yeah, and sometimes I don't feel like giving up my audiobook, to be honest with you. Like today I went and watched a couple because I needed I was reading House of Hunger or listening to House of Hunger. And I was like, I need a little bit of a break. And that's, but sometimes I'm like, I refuse to compromise.
Yeah, I'm the same way. All right, last thing you Googled.
Oh,
so if you go to Google and you just click on it, it should come up. These could potentially be embarrassing things.
Stephanie Pratt.
Why? That was all you Googled was just
Stephanie Pratt.
What was the reason?
Embarrassing. Because if I tell you what I was Googling before that, you'll be like, Ashley, what was going on?
It's almost like trying to figure out where your train of thought came from. Like you just start tracing back.
So we're like, my lunch break was weird today. So I had it was just a lot going on at work today. So I came back and I had to eat at my desk and I had 20 minutes to eat. And I was like, oh, let me watch an episode of The Hills on Hulu. So then it was an episode with Stephanie Pratt. And I was like, I wonder what she's up to now. And I started looking for news articles about Stephanie Pratt.
Like news sorted by most recent.
I was like, does she still talk to Heidi and Spencer? I was like, man, I don't like. And then I was like, yesterday I was Googling Audrina. I didn't know Audrina had a book come out. And then her and Lauren, she said Lauren was controlling. And I was like, ooh, maybe I should look for this book. Listen. Yeah. Wow.
It would have been funnier if you were like, what is Stephanie Pratt up to these days?
The news articles were enough. Like she does not look the same anymore. I didn't realize that she had moved to the UK and she was back and forth between the UK and LA and she doesn't use a cell phone anymore.
You went hard.
Yeah, I did. Because I was like, because it was okay. So I was watching the episode where Stephanie was convincing Heidi. They were in the club. They're always in the club. And she was convincing Heidi to go talk to Audrina because they ran into Audrina at the club, and Heidi was feeling some type of way because Stephanie and Lauren had started becoming cool, but then Lauren ends up feeling some type of way about Heidi and Audrina. So I'm like, but girl, that's the pot calling the kettle black. You doing the same thing. I said this show made absolute, and you can tell now, like knowing how reality TV works now, it's amazing going back and watching, and you can tell how footage was edited to make things look a certain way when that's not really how it played out. Yeah.
Yep. Show you some. I think it had a lot of people in a chokehold.
Oh, it had me in a chokehold.
Okay, so I don't know if you know what this means because I found out recently that not everyone calls it a JMO, but it's a just me or everyone. So something that you're like, okay, do I just do this or think this, or does everyone do this or think this? And then people in the chat can chime in on whether they do.
Is this like weird habits that I have?
It could be, or like just a thought that you might have, or yeah, a weird habit is like a quirk or something.
All right, this is really weird, and I feel like I can't believe you have me out here exposing myself like this on the internet.
I warned you when I messaged you. I said I'm going to interrogate you. It's going to get personal.
If anybody judges me, I'll read you for filth on the internet. I promise you that. I like smelling my own feet. It's the weirdest thing in the world.
I thought you were going to say my own fart. So I feel like feet made it a little bit better.
That too.
You said that too.
It is that too. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like, it's weird. It's both are weird, but they happen. According to Hissy. It's just me. No one else. No one else likes smelling.
Here's my thing. I don't know that I enjoy it, but I don't dislike it as much as I dislike other people's. Like, I feel like I don't smell as bad as other people. But I feel like there has been research though that has said like there's scientific reason why it's not as bad.
It doesn't smell as bad to me. Like, right. I really just feel like it's just kind of like, okay.
Do you see her comment?
Right.
It's for science.
It's for scientific purposes. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. So exposed. See, it makes sense. Wow. Has anybody answered it this wild yet?
No.
No?
That was the best answer I've had to that question so far.
Oh, gosh.
And I feel like no one else is responding because they all agree. So I feel like it's an everyone thing. They're like, I agree, but I'm not going to say anything.
Oh, goodness gracious. Like, I knew we were getting exposed, but like...
So far is a weapon of mass destruction.
Mass destruction.
They don't deserve to be poisoned. But like by your own or somebody else's? That's the question.
That is the question.
Okay. Can you show us the last photo you took on your phone? I made this a yes or no question just in case.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
I keep those in hidden.
Oh, that's you. I love your glasses. The glasses that you've been wearing. They look so good on you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, the best advice you've ever been given or you've given someone else or both.
Mind the business that pays you.
Ooh, I like it.
Literally, like that is my model at work. Like, so somebody, librarians are nosy and messy. Librarians are some of the messiest folks I have ever met in my life. Nosy and messy. And so somebody had sent an email out, and it was kind of a shocker to a lot of people, and some people felt some type of way. So I went down to talk in a different department, not talk to them about that. I went to go do something else. I went to do something work related.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Ashley, did you see that email? I said, yes, I did. I read it and I promptly closed it because I mind a business that pays me. They ain't got nothing to do with my check. They ain't got nothing to do with me. So I'm gonna continue on about my business. That's my motto. If it don't pay you, if it's not taking care of you or those you love dearly, you gotta let it go. You gotta brush that. Like, I feel like I've spent too much of my time like kind of how do you put it? Internalizing like negative energy from people. And it's just not healthy. Like, you gotta think about the fact that like you gotta take care of you first, and then those people that you care and love for that deserve to be cared for and loved. So yeah. That's yeah.
I wonder if somebody else is sometimes you surprise yourself. I say somebody. Best advice you ever given her was fuck them people. Sometimes you need someone to say that.
Sometimes you got to like. Sometimes you got to.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. But Bree's always told me, like, when I've gone through rough patches, Bree's always told me, like, don't internalize that. Like, don't internalize that, and don't do that negative, like, self-talk, which has always been, like, an issue of mine. I have a very strong exterior, but I'm also very human, and my feelings get hurt just like everybody else's feelings. And so, like, Bree has always thought, like, don't internalize that. Like, because people will say stuff to you that's not true. They're just trying to hurt you, and then you'll internalize it and think that that is true about yourself. So I've struggled with that a lot, but Bree's kind of helped me work through a lot of not internalizing negative energy.
One of my favorite pieces of advice is let it hurt, then let it go. Yes. So like that's my like, let it hurt you, feel it, and then let it go. And like it's like, don't internalize it. Like, okay, ouch, that hurt. And then it's like, okay, I'm done. Like, I felt it, I'm good. Okay, I don't know if you have your bag near you, but if you do, grab it, and you got to give us a tour of what is
inside. Hold on, let me go get it.
Okay.
Like not my purse, but like a bag, like a tote bag that I have.
Anything that has a lot of stuff in it, because you're going to go one by one and show all the stuff that's in your bag.
Great. How did you come up with this foolishness?
Because I am so nosy. That's how I came up.
This is how you came up with it? Oh my God.
Yes. Thank you, Bree. Yes, negative self-talk is trash. There's no evidence to prove it exactly. All it takes is one little thing to set you off. I feel that in my heart and my soul. But it's so hard not to let it sink in.
Okay, so this is my tote bag that I take to work with me. One by one, right?
Yeah, one by one. Show us what you got.
Master Keaton, Volume 1.
Master Keaton book. That's on brand.
Zom 100, Volume 3.
Also very, very on brand.
Very on brand here. Food Wars, Volume 19. Thought I asked what was in my bag. The Muscle Girl Next Door, Volume 1.
Are these all books that you're reading right now?
No, these are books that I'm hoarding. I'm not reading this right now. This is what happens when I go to work. Because only one out of the ones that you've seen so far, only one of them actually belongs to me.
Okay.
This is what I do when I go to work. Wash Diaries. Let's see what else here. My Kindle. Catch These Hands, Volume 1.
I love that title.
A bottle of water.
Necessary.
Pain relieving gel.
And that because you're carrying all these books back and forth, you need the pain relieving gel.
Literally just carrying them back and forth. Not reading a single thing. Literally, y'all, I take these books back and forth to work every single day. I have not read a single one. Charger.
Also necessary.
Heavenly Designs volumes 1, 2, and 3.
This is a Mary Poppins bag.
It is a Mary Poppins bag.
She's gonna pull out a coat hanger.
Manga Dogs, volume 1. Please don't ask me why this is in my bag. Poster.
A poster?
Yeah, poster. A poster.
Just...
Another charger.
Yes, Izzy had a very tiny empty purse.
Batman Tales Once Upon a Crime.
How many? We have to count how many books at the end of. Not done. Okay.
And the House of Secrets.
And it's 90% manga.
Hair clips.
Also necessary.
My child's sock.
One sock, not two, just one.
A bookmark.
She's showing you everything.
Headphones.
I know, we all want to see the bag afterwards.
A toy car. Not as a carry-on.
She got some of the Samsonite luggage.
Luggage. Okay, that's it. That's all that's in the bag.
We need to see how big the bag is.
Okay, this is...
Okay, I mean, that's a decent bag. Although I bet it cuts off the circulation to your arm.
It does. Let me see how many books were in there.
Yes, we need to count.
1, 2, 3, 4.
It really was a Mary Poppins
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That I haul around every single day. I have not read. None of them.
Will you at some point read them, I guess is the question.
Yeah, I'm actually was supposed to read Catch These Hands and The Muscle Girl Next Door this evening.
Ashley Poppins.
Y'all leave me alone now. See what happens when you show people on the internet things? They come for you.
Apparently you're not alone in this.
Is that not normal?
Completely logical.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, I feel like, yeah, it feels normal to me.
All right, we're going to move on to bookish questions. So,
thank God.
And it's very romance specific because anyone who is new here, my channel is mostly romance. So we're going to talk about romance. Okay, what is your romance reading origin story? How did you start reading romance?
I hated romance.
You hated it?
I hated it and I had never read it. How dumb is that? How naive.
I think that's pretty common. I mean, that's a pretty common thought about romance.
Yeah.
I don't think it's you. I think it's society.
No, I would never. I had no interest in reading romance. That's not for me. I'm not going to do it. And then what did I read? I can't tell you what I read. It was I know what it was. What is her name? Oh, she just did like a food base. Oh my gosh, y'all. I can't remember this child's name.
Internalized misogyny era.
Why can't I remember her name?
Traditionally published author? It's a romance author?
No, she's indie. She has been indie. And I see the cover of one that she just did not too long ago. And it was like a food-based romance. Lucy, is it Lucy Parker? Is that her name?
Let's look it up. So you saw one of the books? What, like?
It is Lucy Parker. How did this
I read Lucy Parker.
Not Lucy Parker. It's not Lucy Parker. I'm bugging.
Okay.
It's not Lucy Parker. And I'm sitting here about to go on my Goodreads because I have to remember this because it's gonna
You said it was food-based? Is it Mimi Grace?
No,
Okay.
it's not. It's not. This one, it was a romance, and owned I had it as an arc, and I don't know why I decided to get it as an arc. Her family owned this hotel kind of situation on the island, right? And it was
Mm-hmm.
this real estate guy who was supposed to come and I think
NG
try
Peltier?
to
Is it you said NG Peltier?
no, this would have been back in 2019 that I read this.
Oh, okay.
And he was trying to buy the property, but she didn't. Hold on, y'all. I'm about to find out because I can't. It's gonna drive me wild if I don't. Because
So
2019,
2019?
yeah, 2019 is when I really, really started reading. Because matter of fact, I started reading romance when I was pregnant.
Mm.
And let
So
me
you
see.
just picked this up on a whim?
Yes, Lucy Eden, Cherishing the
Lucy
Goddess.
Eden.
Lucy Eden.
I don't know if I've read anything by Lucy Eden either.
That's what it was. And
Oh, I
that
see
was
it.
one of, yeah. And I feel like I had like dabbled every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
But when I read that one, it was such an emotional roller coaster for me. And I still don't know if it was an emotional roller coaster because I was hormonal, because
Right.
I was pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
But that book made me cry so much, um, because I thought the whole family relationship and um, why she was trying to hold on to the whole hotel property. The reason behind that was just, it was beautiful. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh my gosh, I never knew that romance could be like that. And
Mm-hmm.
so then we just went down a rabbit hole.
The rabbit hole began.
Yeah, the rabbit hole started after that. Yeah.
I want to read Blind Date with a Book Boyfriend. That's been on my Kindle for a while. I haven't picked it up. Oh my
Ooh,
god. Colleen Hoover.
great. You about to get your best friend card snatched, right? Speak no evil, hear no evil, see no evil. Absolutely not.
Okay, so I'm going to ask this two different ways because when I was doing an interview with Lisa from Remarkably Lisa, she actually gave
Yeah.
me in real life meet cutes that actually happened to her. So whether
Okay.
it ended up in a relationship or not. So I guess tell me what would be your ideal in real life meet cute if you're making up your own, and if you've had any in real life meet cutes that have happened to you.
But my ideal in real life meet cute would be something going, I don't know, I have a fire mouth. So I feel like mine would be a meet cute, but it would kind of be like a, not enemies to lovers, but would it be some bantering?
Some banter.
So kind of like how what's the Love Sisters, the first book in the Love Sister series,
Mm-hmm.
how they're
Mm-hmm.
really like, for me, but put it in a bookstore, like that would be
Yeah.
that would be my ideal meet cute. Um all of the people that I haven't really feel like I've had any like meet cute situations. My
No.
situations always happen in the most awkward. They always
But I
happen.
feel like awkward can be a cool meet cute though.
It's like I always meet somebody when I least expect it. I will say that.
Mm.
I don't think I've ever met someone actively looking for someone. It's always when I'm like, I want to be left alone.
That's exactly.
Then somebody comes knocking.
Mm-hmm.
The person that I'm currently seeing, we met, it's not the situation wasn't the meet cute. The conversation, I think, was the cute part of it, because it was like, oh, he's very much into oh, you're a Virgo, I'm a Virgo too. And like just
So he
like,
knew like
yeah, he felt
what
like
that
he
meant.
knew. Well, because there's significance to like my name and being a Virgo. And
Mm-hmm.
so he told me his ears because I was the last person to arrive for the gathering, and he said like his ears perked up when he was like, oh, it's an Ashley, like, and so we weren't really, I don't feel like we were really checking for each other at all. We were just, it was other stuff going around. We would like look at each other and laugh because somebody was doing something wild, and we had made eye contact and we had laughed about it, but like we didn't really start talking until like towards the end of the night. I will say that I thought it was an interesting meet cute type of situation because I had felt like I had known him before I had met him that night, which was very, very weird because.
So you were having these like across the room eye contact, like laughing things, like you
yeah,
both
laughing things,
it?
but like we weren't, but it
Oh,
wasn't even, yeah, but it wasn't like it wasn't like oh, like I'm checking for you type of like,
right.
it literally was just like, this girl is wilding out in here, like, because she was saying some wild stuff. So we were looking at the side of our eyes when we had made eye contact, and we just started laughing. I just started
like that has happened to me. Where like you're kind of looking around the room, is anyone else seeing what I'm seeing? And then you find that person who does, and you're like,
yeah. So we kind of like looked at each
love
other and we were laughing, and then later on that night, and I was like, dang, I was like, I feel like I've met you before, and I had not met him before that night. So it's just kind of one of those like, oh wow, like I feel like I've known you for a long time. It was a very interesting connection. We're both Virgos. I feel like we bump heads like we're both Virgos. But like that's probably been the most interesting meet cute or meeting someone situation that I've had. Like it was so random. Neither one of us kind of expected that. It just ended up
weren't
talking.
looking for it.
No, we weren't looking for it. We just ended up talking, and then it was like, oh, can I get your number? Sure. And then we have not spoken to each other since the day that we met.
I love that. See, I would love to read that in a book because I feel like we all have had that moment where you like kind of make eye contact with someone and you're just like
like she's like, oh, this is weird.
Yeah. Holding out hope for you to do a vlog reading library meet cute romance novels.
Oh yeah, I would have to do that outside. I would love to do that like in an actual, maybe I go to the county over and I go to their library and check out library meet cute romances or just read them while I'm in the library. That's how you meet people though.
You get the whole vibe.
Yeah.
All right. Using your favorite romance love interests to build your own love interest. So you can take traits from different romance love interests that you like, whether it's personality traits, what they do for a living, like their relationships with other people, what they look like.
So occupation, whatever makes you happy. I think that sometimes people get, not saying that, like you shouldn't be able to provide for yourself and provide for, your family. But for me, definitely, I think that doing what you love makes that work-life balance a lot easier than having to go to a job that you're like, I really just don't want to be here. So I've never like had certain expectations for, as long as you're able to take care of yourself, that's my thing. But as far as like, what you're doing, as long as it makes you happy, I'm okay with that. Personality, I like somebody that's goofy. Somebody who has like, I don't do alpha very well.
Yeah.
I've dealt with alphas, and
because you're an alpha. You need an omega.
So I don't do very well with alphas, which is probably why I don't like reading a lot of romances where that hero is an alpha, because I'm like, no, you got to calm down a little bit. Like I need you to chill out. But I do like someone who can kind of check, because I wild out now. I'll do some wild stuff in a relationship. And Bree can attest to that. Bree can tell you, I'll do some people like, Ashley, no, baby, you can't do that. You can't. Bree had to tell me the other night, do I need to catch a plane and whoop your ass? like, so Bree knows, but I feel like, I I need someone who could put me in check, not in a derogatory way,
Mm-hmm.
but like tell me like, we're not about to do this. Like you, like today, I had to get told like you're projecting right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to hear that
Right.
because it was like literally you're starting an argument and nothing is wrong. You're
Mm-hmm.
projecting what is going on with you right now that you're feeling some type of way. Like you need to talk to me instead of just making assumptions. So I need
I feel
sometimes
like I've read a hero or a hero that has been like that, and I can't remember what
yeah.
book it was, but just someone who like can read you well enough
Yep.
to know how to present that to you, because
Yep.
it's all in the presentation depending on your mood.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's definitely like not necessarily, and is kind of handling me because I have a very strong personality.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of need someone that can handle me, but not handle me in a way that's disrespectful, that can talk to me and be like,
Mm-hmm.
no, man, we're not doing this today. This is, how about you call me back whenever you feel like you've calmed down a little bit, then you pick up the phone and call me back. Like, so someone who can kind of handle me that way. I like humans that are adventurous,
Mm-hmm.
are willing to try new things, whether that's, just outside the house or in
Mm-hmm.
the house. Like I need someone that continues to kind of have that spark, someone who could hold a conversation.
Yeah.
That is a huge thing for me. If you can't hold a conversation, I can already tell you it won't work.
And surprisingly hard to find.
I also feel like sometimes my intelligence works against me with some, especially men.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it works against me sometimes because it's either like, no, I'm not dealing with that, or I feel like I won't be able to keep up.
Right.
And so I've had that like run people off before. They're like, no, this is way too much. Like I can't
Mm.
do that. Speaking of like holding conversation, I like somebody I can debate with,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to like politics. I know people are like, don't do that. And they're like, but I'm like, if it gives me gives me life.
Or maybe
Debate.
someone who just plays devil's advocate, maybe agrees with you about certain
Yeah.
things, but is like, yeah, but have you thought about this? Or maybe they're,
Have you thought about it
yeah.
this way? Or, like,
Mm-hmm. I love that.
or someone who's had like different life experiences than me. So
Right.
they definitely will come at it from a different angle because they've
Mm-hmm.
experienced things that I haven't experienced. And so that's a huge thing.
Yeah, someone you can learn from.
Yeah, definitely someone I can learn from. Um, I also tend to like someone who's calmer than me. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like sometimes I can be very high energy, and I like someone who's like mellow,
Mm-hmm.
like just kind of like mellowed out and just have good vibes. I'm a vibe person. I'm a vibe and energy person.
Mm-hmm.
You can put me in a room with somebody, I can tell you when the vibes and the energy are just not
So
right.
you're an empath.
Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So
I am too.
vibes have to be on point.
Yeah, I'm very affected by other people's vibes. It'll throw me off if someone's
It
vibes are off.
does. It does. I had to ask someone today, like, because I've vibes were just kind of they've been off,
Mm-hmm.
and so I had to ask, like, am I like, am I? And they're also a person that is very in tune with, being in a room full of people, and they can feel the situation out, and so
Mm-hmm.
um, they were like, no, 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 yeah, I definitely have been kind of pulling the same vibe, like, but I'm like that where when when I feel some type of way and the vibe and the intuition part start kicking in, and then I'm like, this could be
Yep.
kind of a sticky situation. It'll throw me off completely.
Mm-hmm.
Um, hmm.
I need a book that has a hero with all of these traits.
Yeah, listen, because
I'm trying to think of a hero that has at least some of these traits, and I'm sure there are some,
yeah,
but it's such a unique characteristic, because especially if he's not alpha, but he has to have a strong, quiet presence too,
yes,
and be intelligent. And usually those are alpha traits, like, very
mm-hmm.
like strong and everything. But I like the idea of him not being an alpha, but having
Alpha,
those traits.
mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
want that hero in a book.
In a book.
Yeah. Okay, your one true pairing, a couple that you love together in a book.
Oh, this is not everybody's favorite, but I really like, and don't ask me their names because I don't remember names.
Neither do
The
I.
couple from Birthday Girl.
Oh my gosh, yes. I love that. And that's age gap too, but
And
there's
that's age gap.
I think we've talked about this. Their maturities matched. Like she
Yes,
was a
they
little bit
did.
mature for her age,
And
and he was a
he is a
little bit
little
immature.
immature for his
So they
age.
matched. Oh,
Yep. I love the
yes.
two of them together.
Mm-hmm.
It's about time for me to do my reread.
I
I've read
know.
that book, yeah, every year since 2019.
It has one of my favorite things where the heroine like teases the hero until
Yes.
he goes crazy.
Yes.
Like that is one
Yes.
of my favorite things.
It is
Have you
so good.
read Sea of Ruin by Pam Godwin?
No, I have it marked on my Hoopla app.
If you like the teasing, like until like
Yeah,
torturing teasing, there is a
yeah.
great scene in that. There are like
Oh,
huge trigger warnings for that one because it's super
okay,
dark, but there is a great teasing scene in
okay.
that one. All right. What authors would attend your ideal book convention?
It's like ask me who was your
I
favorite
know.
child.
But listen, you can say multiple.
Romance, like, does it matter?
Let's do romance book convention.
Oh, jeez.
We know CCJ would have to be there.
Not everybody knows. Um, this is hard
No.
because I feel like I would say, okay, everybody knows CCJ. I would
Mm-hmm.
definitely say CCJ. Ashley Nicole, because I don't know too many people who, and I like talking about her because I know too many people who have checked out Ashley Nicole, but she's
Yeah.
funny. Like her
Mm-hmm.
books are hilarious. And so I think that she would be funny in person. I
Oh
can't
yeah.
guarantee that,
Mm-hmm.
but her romance books make me, when I say laugh out loud,
Mm-hmm.
from the pits of my soul, laugh out loud.
So give me one of the books because I'm gonna add it to my TBR because I've not read anything by this author.
Oh, I would start with the Mason family series.
Okay.
Don't ask me what the first book is.
That's okay. I can look it up.
um, I would start there. It follows. It's this huge. I think you would like it, Brie. It's this huge family, like huge, huge, huge family. Um, and there's like 30 of them. It doesn't follow each one of them. It just picks out a select few,
Mm-hmm.
but they are hilarious. And I started reading them out of order because one of them was a Thanksgiving book, and I was just looking for some Black romance Thanksgiving books to read.
Mm-hmm.
And that one had popped up, and I didn't realize it was like book 6 or 7 in the series. And I was dying while
Can you
reading
read
it.
it as a standalone?
I think you can because I've read it and I enjoyed it as a standalone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I got better context of the characters when I went back and
Okay.
started with book 1.
Slipped Up in Love is the first one,
Yes, that
and
is
it's
the
on
first.
KU. Let's
Yes.
see that.
Um, I would want to say Penelope Douglas, but I haven't read anything else by her
Mm-hmm.
outside. Like I would solely want her there just because of Birthday Girl, and I don't.
Right. I know. I didn't love some of her other books. I think I liked like 2 or 3 of her books, and
So that's why I'm kind of like, I don't
yeah.
know.
I feel like you would like Sierra Simone. I know you read Priest recently,
Oh my gosh, it
and
was so good.
and because she was at I think it was Shameless BookCon when I went to it, and she was talking about how she went to like Catholic school. That's why she knows so much. It's so detailed in her
Of
books,
course,
and
of
she went
course.
and she writes it with respect. I mean, somehow, despite the
Somehow,
things, despite the
but
use of holy water.
it was so, I felt very like it didn't feel, well, no, how do I review? I was like, it didn't feel, for those who were fearful, it didn't feel blasphemous.
Yes.
And so it felt real because the discussions that she included in there
Yes.
are things that people, especially those that are more religious,
Mm-hmm.
they are questions that come up and things that people
Mm-hmm.
contemplate. Like, how do you balance this love for your religion as well as this love that you may have for another human. And
Mm-hmm.
so her ability to incorporate that into the framework of a priest falling in love with
Right.
someone who's coming in to do their confession,
Mm-hmm.
it makes sense. It just what
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is logical. It makes sense. So it didn't feel like it was inappropriate or I was like,
Exactly.
oh,
And
I
she does some dirty, dirty stuff in some places that you should not be
that you
doing that
should
stuff,
not be doing.
but
I was like,
she
oh,
balances it.
I was like, I'm at work. Should I be listening to when you listen to a romance audiobook and you may be at work and you're like, can anybody hear
I
this
know.
but
Like, is
me?
this too loud?
Is this too loud? I would definitely include RM Virtues.
Oh my
I've
gosh,
only read
yes.
Drag Me Up, but Drag Me Up was just so good.
I just like RM
Um,
as a person too. So I
yes,
just love
RM
to
as a
meet him.
person, like everything about RM.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely Kimberly Lemming.
Mm-hmm.
I think just the humor behind what is the name of Kimberly's first book? That time I got drunk and
Oh
saved.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Save the
like
demon.
the humor behind that is just
Yes.
fascinating. Stephanie Nicole Norris is
Mm-hmm.
one that I've been reading a lot of Stephanie Nicole Norris. Um, I like her. What is the series
Yeah.
that I read by, hold on, I have to look it up
Stephanie
because
Nicole.
I think that the series that I started reading was a lot better. The Heavy on the D series. Woo! Let me tell you.
That's actually, and the first book is called Stiff. I love.
Stiff, yes. It is great. It is great. I loved all of that. Um Definitely Be Love.
Mm,
I think Be Love has one of the most extensive catalogs that I have seen for a Black romance author.
mm.
Um
Even more
and
than CCJ?
yes,
Really?
she's published over 100 and um she has her own publishing company. So anytime you
Oh, that's
see a
cool.
Black romance writer, sometimes they'll have on the cover Be Love Presents.
Oh, okay.
And that is her, yeah, she takes on authors and um publishes. Not necessarily, I don't think it's kind of like on their behalf or anything like that, but I think maybe she coaches them and does some editing and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
and then they publish under her company. So I definitely would say her, of course. I think everybody wouldn't be surprised if I said Alexandria House, Alexandria
Mm-hmm.
Warren. Like those are pretty given. Um, Denise Williams has been a favorite of mine. I wasn't a huge fan of her last book that she published. I just read it. It's the one where she is a
Divorce.
divorce lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
but oh gosh, what's the name of the person that actually marries people?
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm trying to look it up.
She's a divorce lawyer, but she marries people on the side, and he works for a wedding planning company.
Oh, Do You Take This Man?
Yeah, I didn't really care for that one.
It has a
But her,
lower rating than most of her other. I loved How to Fail at Flirting. I loved
yeah,
that one.
I enjoyed her first two that she did, and
Mm-hmm.
an officiate.
Officiate.
You got minister ordained, yeah, officiate. That's what it's called. I enjoyed her other ones, but that one I struggled with quite a bit. But
Mm-hmm.
I still think that what she brings to the table um, is pretty interesting. Let me think who else. Mika James is another one. Monica Walters is another one um, that I've enjoyed. Shay Sanders, who I've read so much of Shay's backlist at this point. Her books are also they're messy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you like messiness, I think Shay definitely is one um, to go with. But I
Have you
mean,
read anything by Shay Davis?
oh, I don't think so.
I was super excited because I got her book on the Audible sale because it's a full cast narration, and I've never read a Black love romance that was full cast, and it had like it had like Wesley Chauvin and Emmanuel Ingram, like my favorites. And it was, I mean, the book, the one that I read is called The Marriage Contract, and I guess Wesley Chauvin has her own like audio production company. Yeah.
I did not
which
know
is
that.
so cool. And so I guess she produced it, but yeah, it's a full, it's only a couple hours long. I think I would have liked it better if it was a little bit longer, but I was just so excited it was a full cast.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I just read it today.
I've read some stuff by Rosie that I like. Nicole Falls is also kind of a go-to for me. Yeah. I think. Oh, and Rianne. What is Rianne's last name? Rianne does all of these short novellas, like The Mermaid. The Mermaid, when they're Black love, but they're like mermaid, demon.
Wait, what's her last name? I need to know now. As mermaids and demons.
Rianne. What is Rianne's last name?
There's so many Riannes.
Rianne Burnett.
Okay, I see her.
Yeah.
Oh, and she has a vampire romance. There's all
She has a lot.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Her Wild Companion. Yeah. Rapture at Sea. Desiring the Merman is the series.
Yes. And I finished that series.
There's one called Slippery and Satisfied, and I need to know what slithering to ecstasy. Stop. This is my favorite thing. This discovery is so exciting.
Reason this is right up my alley.
It's right up my alley.
Last person I think I would add to a convention, and this has been a long list. Ava Freeman is another one too. Ava Freeman does Black sapphic romance. And I think she's also a librarian.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you guys would have a lot to talk about.
Yes.
Excuse me while I'm looking up all these people. Okay. We can move on. All right. So I feel like this might be a hard question for you because you read so many genres outside of romance, but what is your favorite? Well, I guess, yeah, you go ahead and answer because I think I have an idea, but.
Ooh, favorite genre? Oh, Bree, that's a hard question.
Yes, it didn't feel blasphemous. That's understandable.
I have a tendency to read a lot of realistic fiction, to be honest with you. But I also read a lot of graphic.
I was going to say graphic.
Yeah, like so comics, manga, and graphic novels. But yeah, I have between those two, I tend to lean towards a lot of that.
What do you mean by realistic fiction?
So realistic fiction literally is, I think, what we call contemporary.
Okay.
In our community is what we call realistic fiction in the librarian world.
So not necessarily romance, but just realistic fiction.
Just like a contemporary, like not in anything that is not sci-fi, right. Fantasy, mystery, thriller, like it is literally just a realistic fiction. So one of my favorites this year is like Confessions of an Alleged Good Girl by Joy Goffney. That to me, although it does have romantic elements, that one to me is more realistic fiction than anything else. So yeah, I do. Yeah, a lot of realistic fiction. I will say that, and a lot of comics, manga, and graphic novels.
Last book you DNF'd and why?
I'm a silent DNFer.
I am sometimes too.
I don't ever keep track of what I DNF. Let me go into Libby and see. That's how I usually know. Like I'll listen to 20 minutes of an audiobook and I don't mark it as currently reading.
Yeah, I usually try and give it a little bit longer before I put it as currently reading because sometimes I DNF things very quickly. But
I guess I technically DNF. There was a nonfiction audiobook that I was listening to, Off with Her Head, 300 Years of, I forget what the subtitle of that one is. It was just looking at kind of like misogyny through women in power. And I made the mistake of like looking at some professional reviews about it, and I heard that her research was not authentic. And so I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna even go down this rabbit hole with her then. I'm just gonna leave it alone. So I kind of quietly DNF that one.
That makes sense. That's disappointing too to hear. All right, tell me about a fun how you met your book story.
How I met my book.
Yeah, so like a book that you wanted to read because of something interesting that triggered you to read it. I feel like it's harder these days, especially if you watch BookTube and you get a lot of, and especially for you, because I'm sure you get a lot of recommendations and stuff because of the library and your job and stuff. But I'm wondering if pre all of that, you had an interesting story and how you're introduced to a book, whether you liked the book or not. Oh, the Off with Her Head, is that by Eleanor Herman?
Yeah. Yep. Oh, Brie, I may not have one.
I know. Well, like I said, especially in your field, I bet it's hard
to.
Yeah,
my field is kind of hard for me to like organically like find anything, because I see when it comes to like YA, children's and middle grade, I see everything that gets released, so it's like nothing is a surprise. Right. Man, no, I don't think I have anything that's been in. Oh, yes, yep, no. But I mean, this was kind of it was low-key a recommendation though. So I mean, it wasn't personally recommended to me.
It doesn't have to be.
I was watching Izzy's video.
Oh God.
I can't remember which one it was. And literally, sometimes, like I said, like I watch BookTube sometimes and I'm not literally looking
right
at the screen, and I had Izzy playing in the background. I couldn't tell you when. It was playing in the background. She'd be better able to tell you when she first introduced it. And I'm just, listening, and all of us, I hear "Railed by the Easter Bunny." I said, "Huh?"
I added that to my TBR because I heard too.
Whatever I was doing, it stopped. And I kid you not, I had to rewind it because I said, no, I heard that wrong. I said, ain't no way, Izzy ain't reading no damn book called Railed by the Easter Bunny. I said, no, I heard that wrong. I stopped to make sure I was watching the screen, okay? And then the cover pulls up, Railed by the Easter Bunny. Yep. I was like, what is coming to like, tell me why I read that book and absolutely adored it. Did you? Yes, I did. Listen, I read it last month.
I really liked Smashing the Pumpkin King, so I can't judge. There's a big fan.
Who's Smashing the Pumpkin King by?
I don't remember. I read it a couple years ago, but it's actually really good. Smashing. And I also read a book called Seated by Santa. Smashing the Pumpkin King is by Holly Ween.
Somebody just wanted to have some fun. Somebody was like, I'm just gonna, this has been in my head, I'm gonna put it out into the world. That's what happened with that.
That's definitely what happened. All right. A romance novel that is objectively really good, but you didn't like it. Or maybe a lot of people really liked and you didn't like it.
7 days in June.
And you didn't like it?
No. No.
I feel like I've heard you talk about this before. I personally liked it, but I can see why other people didn't like it.
That book gave me too much like anxiety reading it. Because I think I was people were like, oh, this is great. It is so wonderful. 4 stars, 5 stars. And I'm like, actually, I have 2 like that. I was like, did we read the same book? Because the way he made me nervous about, I thought he was going to relapse. And so I was kind of on edge. I felt like they also, the way that they met was so unhealthy. And the way they connected as teens was so unhealthy, that just
With the
knowing
drugs and everything.
the
Yep.
drugs and everything. And I was like, yeah, I don't understand how that even that first, like, oh yeah, we were so in love. And I'm like, no, 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 and no, no. And then them as adults, I think I was just so concerned about him as an adult that it just, I couldn't. The writing was great.
Right.
I think her writing was beautiful, and I think that she handled certain things very, very well.
Yeah, the chronic illness in it was done well.
Yeah, I really do think that she handled so much of the content of that book well, but I just could not get past the trauma that the two of them had been through. And so I couldn't. I was like, are we sure that they need to be together, right? Like, do they need to get more help first? So I didn't, I was like, I don't get it. I just didn't get it as much. And I felt the same way about Neon Gods. It was like 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. And I was like, but why?
I know. Here's the thing. The plot wasn't very great in it, and it was a little bit longer than it needed to be.
It was not.
I can't tell you why I loved it. I think I loved the characters, and I liked their dynamic together, and also kind of a horror for Persephone and Hades retelling. So
I literally read it, and I was like, what plot? Like, I mean, Katie Robert, for me, is slowly becoming like, I know that I don't go to her for much plot developments. If I want a good watch them bang it out scene, she is my girl,
Banging is the plot. Yeah.
Banging is the plot. And I have to, like, I noticed that by the time that I read Neon Gods and I went back and read the rest of the Desperate Measure books, I knew then that, like, okay, so plotting is not our strong point here. But if we want banging to be the plot point, like if I just need a really good, hot, fun book, I know to come to you for that. But I did like the second book much better than the first one.
Oh, I haven't read the second one.
Yeah, so I have high hopes for the rest of the series, but those are 2 that I know that took the community by storm and everybody loved them. I was like, I missed something.
Did we read the same book?
Did we read the same book? Maybe I got a different version.
Have you read Your Dad Will Do?
Yes, I like that one.
Have you read The Doctor by Nikki Sloan?
No, but I've read Nikki Sloan's other ones, and I need to pick up more by Nikki.
Okay, you need, listen, I'm going to tell you something. You're going to want to pick it up immediately. The Doctor is a combination of Your Dad Will Do and Birthday Girl.
Oh, shit.
It's like those 2 together. Like if you want, like it's a lot steamier than Birthday Girl, but it has a little more plot than Your Dad Will Do.
Okay, so I like both of those.
I know.
So, and I like Nikki Sloan because I read, what is the name of that series?
The Filthy Rich Americans.
Oh my God.
I marathoned that series like no one.
I marathoned it too. And I was like,
not put it down.
What is going on? When that first book ended, I was like,
I know. When you find out what the initiation is,
yeah, I was like, that's what the initiation was. It was a while. I was like, oh my God.
Yes, I'm so excited for you to read The Doctor because it's great. If you like those 2 books, then you'll like.
Oh, yeah, and I've been meaning to read some more Nikki Sloan. So I haven't read anything else after that series.
Yeah, it's good. All right, what is a book that most consider bad, but you really like it?
Ooh.
Railed by the Easter Bunny.
I thought Railed by the Easter Bunny, though, had some pretty decent reviews.
Oh, it has decent reviews?
I didn't. I'm pretty sure it has decent reviews, but people are all like, surprisingly, I like this.
It's like Morning Glory Milking Farm for me. I was like, wait, why is this a slow burn and why do I like it?
Oh,
it does have pretty decent reviews.
Yeah, it wasn't as out there as I think people. I mean, it's out there. Don't get me wrong; it is extremely out there. But dang, what is one that I didn't? Oh, that I liked.
But other people
are kind of like,
or maybe it's considered trashy, or
Oh, consider trashy. I don't know, because even with Rhian Burnett stuff, she's kind of out there, and but most people also think that her stuff is not that bad. Ooh, Brie.
Wait, I feel like you had one that you liked, and like on a live you were talking about it at one point. I can't remember what book it was, and other people couldn't believe that you liked it. Oh, I can't remember what it was.
Because I feel like,
I'm surprised that you liked Your Dad Will Do.
Really?
Yeah. Because if you're talking about plot, that would not have very much.
I know it didn't have any plot, but I mean, I think just the scenario of like, it means you're screwing the dad.
I know, and I feel like that was also the first book that I read that had that trope in it too. So I was like, oh, that's a thing.
Okay. That's a thing. Apparently, that's a thing, and I was just like, keep it coming. I'm looking, and I feel like everything. I feel like I'm usually on par. Like
Or is there a book that maybe a lot of people like, but it's not great that you also like objectively isn't good? Like a Twilight kind of thing. I know how you feel about Twilight, but like that type of book.
Junky,
Yeah.
but like.
Does Dick Fight Island count? What are the reviews on it?
No, because you know what? It's actually very heartwarming and charming. It really is. It's heartwarming and charming, and
that's like Morning Glory Milking Farm. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I would almost say Rhian Burnett's but it's not. It's really like it's really not the best writing in the world. But I think they're just, I mean, because how often are we seeing like Black romance with like mermaids? You know what I'm saying? Like, see Black mermaids, but we're talking Black romance.
Romance specifically, yes.
With mermaids. And so, not necessarily the best written, but I think that it's just kind of like, it is campy. It is very much so over the top. And a lot of things were just like, she goes to the beach and she has this connection to water, and then all of a sudden 20 seconds later she's screwing a merman. Like, makes absolutely
but like
no sense.
Those kind of books, you know what you're getting, and it's like a refresh. Like in between heavier books, they're fun to read.
Exactly, because definitely like that made absolutely no sense for her. Literally, you don't have any questions. Like, listen, she had no questions, and now that I think about it, the book really doesn't make sense.
Do they ever?
No, she flew to, she's from Jamaica. She flew back to Jamaica to visit her family because she hasn't visited in a while. She ended up staying at a hotel, and I never could figure out why she was staying at the hotel. So she wanted to stay at a hotel instead of staying with her family, but she stays with her family anyway. So that part didn't really make sense. Like,
it's like she forgot to take it out.
I don't know. Like,
editing.
I'm gonna go stay in the hotel before I go stay with my family, and I'm like, but why? Because we don't get anything. Like, there's nothing of her. There's no content around her staying in the hotel. We just get that.
So there's no point.
No, and then all of a sudden she's staying with her family, and I'm like, okay, so what was the point of her staying in the hotel? Weird. She goes to the beach, gets in the water, feels something around her legs, sees this merman, is not really panicking about it, and then all of a sudden the merman starts grabbing your boobs and playing with them, and it's just like, okay, like,
okay, like, how do you not immediately run out of the water?
Right, like, so we're not gonna ask any, like, how do you exist? Like, are you sure you're real? Like, should I be frightened? Are you going to kill me? But no, let's just let him start playing with my boobs. Like, randomly, he just starts playing with your boobs, and next thing you know, you're screwing a merman in the ocean. And I'm like, okay, but how do we get from point A to point B? And there was no questions in between. It's like, no concern.
There doesn't have to be a reason.
No, didn't have to be a reason. So I think that's definitely a book that is like really this makes no sense. And if we're
Mhm.
talking about technicalities here, it's really not that good,
Yeah.
but
Well, there you go.
I
That's
enjoy
the
it.
answer.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the answer.
Have you read the Mind F series? It's the one
No,
with the.
because everybody has been reading that, and
Mm,
yeah, no, I feel like I would no. I feel like I would not even begin to enjoy it, to be honest with you.
I mean, this does happen. It's true.
I
Yeah.
mean, that is true, and I did enjoy Ice Planet Barbarians.
Hmm. Most taboo or dark book you've ever read?
I don't
Priest.
really feel like I've read that many taboo. I haven't
And
read really anything that's taboo, to be honest with you.
Priest is pretty taboo. That's a
I
Catholic
mean,
book.
besides Birthday Girl with the age
Hmm.
gap being
Yeah.
taboo and it being her boyfriend's father and
Hmm.
priest, like
Yeah.
I have darker romances queued up though. I just have not I haven't done it. And I think a
Hmm.
lot of that time it also is because I don't primarily read romance
Hmm.
that it kind of gets in whenever I can get it in around everything
Yeah.
else that I'm reading. And so I haven't had the opportunity to explore maybe as much as I've been meaning to explore. But I have a list. Like when I watch all those videos, I because what I do with Shay too, and I
Hmm.
tell Shay with her manga, but what I also do with y'all, because I tell Shay all the time, I have a Goodreads tab and a no,
Yeah.
I have an Amazon tab, a library tab open at the same time
Uh-huh.
whenever I watch her when she's doing her manga stuff. But also with y'all, when I watch y'all's videos when it comes to romance, I keep a Kindle wish list
Mm.
on Amazon as I'm watching y'all like talk about stuff. So I
Mhm.
have it's a long
I bet
list.
it's big. But it's a
It's a
big one.
long so when I say like I have stuff queued up, like I mean I literally have so much stuff queued up from just watching y'all and I kind of just get to it when I get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the same thing going on. But yeah, I would say probably then Priest, or I mean, honestly, the Filthy Rich Americans is pretty taboo too.
That is too, because that
Yeah.
initiation was
Yeah. It's intense. All right, a few authors whose entire backlists you read. Do you have any authors whose backlists you
not romance.
read?
Because I can't keep up with anybody.
I
Like,
know they
yeah,
come
I
out with
want
a
to
lot.
read CCJ's back, but child, I don't.
Mm,
I
it's too hard.
know, I know that Izzy's doing that, but
Hmm.
goodness, she writes so fast.
Hmm.
She writes incredibly fast. Um, I think the only author's entire backlist that I have read is Karen McManus, and I have read everything that that woman has published. Yeah, I
what
think that's the
what
only
genre is that?
YA thriller mystery.
Mm.
And she started off good, but I feel like she progressively got worse.
Deteriorated a
Yeah,
little
she's deteriorating. I don't want to put it out there, but like,
bit. What is the most romantic book you've ever read? And this is completely subjective, like however you view romantic.
mm, mm, most romantic book that I've read. These are like tough.
They're tough questions. Like to
They're
me, romantic is like sweeping, all-encompassing, like epic romances.
You know what? Honestly, if we're talking about something that I recently read that I still can't stop thinking about,
Mm-hmm.
that is not, I don't think it's romantic in the traditional sense. And I said
Mm-hmm.
that when I reviewed it. Midnight Mass is probably the
Oh
most
my god.
romantic book that I have read in a long time. And I
Mm-hmm.
think you really have to appreciate what Sierra Simone was doing with Midnight Mass to
Mm-hmm.
understand how truly human, and that's probably what made it so romantic to me, is that that book is so human.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not often where I think you get an author that does so well with what happens after.
Yes. And I feel like so many people skip that book because it's a novella after Priest. And they're like, oh, I'm just going to read Sinner next. I'm like, no, Midnight Mass. Like, just you
Yeah,
need to know what happens after he goes through
yeah.
this huge thing. His life just blew up. And now let's see the after, and it's like they're struggling, but they do it together.
They
And they
do it
come,
together, and when they struggle, they struggle. And it
mm-hmm.
was very real because it was just like, I know he had a lot of emotions because he literally gave up. He had no idea what direction to take his life in
Yeah.
after giving up something that was so pivotal to his life for her. But then at
Mm-hmm.
the same time, I kind of understand where she's coming from because she didn't ask him to do that.
Right.
And in a way, because he's trying to figure himself out and what to do with the rest of his life, and then also trying to maintain a relationship, she gets neglected. And people
Mm-hmm.
don't realize that's reality. Like that
Mm-hmm.
happens.
And it's not malicious.
It's
It
not
just,
malicious. It's not, and a lot of times it's the course that relationships take because you have two imperfect beings
mm-hmm.
trying to make a situation work between the two of them. And just, I think the emotional charge, it made me so emotional
Mm-hmm.
listening to that book. Like I was extremely emotional listening to it because I was just like, it was authentic.
Yeah.
And it was still even going back to that balancing of love for a human and love for your religion, and
Right.
finding that balance between the two. And what happens when your life gets completely thrown off track, and you're trying to figure out, what am I going to do with myself, but I still am trying to love this person
Mm-hmm.
at the same time. But it's like I'm refiguring out who I like. He lost his whole identity.
Yes, exactly.
And so you are trying to love someone else and you don't even know who you are anymore. And
Right.
you can't, if you don't know who you are, how do you love another human? It's
Mm-hmm.
hard to do that. And so, I mean, I think that she hands down, like, I mean, I thought Priest was good, but Midnight Mass was
Mm-hmm.
like, I was like, this, I don't know whether she's ever experienced this or whether it's been questions that she had, or
I bet it
she,
was.
yeah, I mean, the authenticity of it was unbelievable, to be quite
And I
honest.
think like surface level, when you say what priest is about, it's a Catholic priest who like,
Yeah,
falls in love and stuff. You think it's like this super taboo and it's so rare that you get a super dark taboo book that has that much depth in it. I mean,
yeah,
I shouldn't say rare. There are a lot of them, but it's something that you would maybe on the surface think is just very like, it's just going to be a book that's like a Rianne Burnett book or
yeah,
something. But this gives you so much more. And she takes that taboo subject that can easily be offensive maybe to some people
yeah,
who are
definitely.
Catholic or that religion or something, but
Yeah,
then humanizes it in a way and
she
makes
does.
it makes you think.
She does. Yeah,
And
yeah.
Midnight Mass really just kind of like ties it all together
Oh, yeah,
perfectly.
it definitely tied it all together. It
Mm-hmm.
it tied it all together, and him having to do that thesis
Ooh.
on just like really just, I mean, I like y'all. And then her author's note at the end of that too was
Mm.
just like, I didn't want it to end
Mm-hmm.
in the way that we typically expect romance books to
Yeah.
end. We are looking like they do have an HEA, but not, I think, in a way that some people may have been expecting going into that book.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also, people have their real life HEAs, and it's far from perfect. I
Yeah.
know, we get
Not
to
tied in
read,
a pretty bow.
yeah, and we get to read
Yeah.
these stories a lot of times where, you know, everything is tied in a pretty bow and everything
Mm-hmm.
is perfect, but sometimes you have to recognize that that's not always everyone's reality. And
Right.
sometimes getting to that HEA, or even maintaining that HEA,
Mm-hmm.
you've gotten it. You've
Yep.
gotten your happily ever after, but what comes after that?
Right.
What's next? Yeah.
Especially when it's something that big.
Oh
Like,
yeah, like that. Like you give up everything for a person. There's
mm-hmm.
there's there's gonna be, regardless of what you think, there's gonna be that, just a smidge of resentment,
Yep.
because you have to start all over again. You're like, I can't believe I did this for this person.
Right. Because that
Like,
person is human and they fall off that pedestal at some point.
yeah,
So,
exactly, exactly.
yep,
Yeah.
it's good. I'm glad that you saw all of that in that book. All right, a romance that made you cry the most.
The Lucy Eden book.
Mm.
I cried and cried and cried in that one, and I won't say what the reveal is because it's a
Mhm.
spoiler, but um I was going through a loss at that time. And so literally it was all connected to what was going on in my family at the
Mhm.
same exact time. So
Oof.
it's amazing for that being the first book that connected me. I was pregnant. It
Oh
was
man,
going
yeah.
through a lot of family. I was going through a lot of family issues.
Mhm.
Um, and what she was dealing with, the heroine was dealing with, was very close to what my family had dealt with. So I cried and cried and cried and cried and cried. Although I felt like I cried at everything I read in the book.
I feel like a lot of what has the most emotional reaction, especially for me anyway, when it comes
Yeah.
to like sadness, it's what I'm going through at the time.
Yeah.
If it, like I read, I don't know if you've read The Sky is Everywhere by Jandy Nelson. I read that book just after I lost both of my grandparents.
Yeah.
And that book is about grief. And I'm also very close to my sister, and the heroine in that one loses her sister. And I was
I'm
just
sorry
like,
you
and they like, I was a mess. But the things that her and her sister would do, like,
Yeah.
you know, the sisters who grow up together, that's stuff that me and my
Yeah.
sister would do all the time. And I was just like, I lost it because
That's
I
just
just happened
how
to
it
be in the
goes.
thick of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, how about one that made you laugh out loud?
I'm gonna go back to the Thanksgiving book.
Yeah.
Like, but any book that Ashley Nicole writes, I'm guaranteed to laugh out loud. Like,
Does she, is it rom-coms? Like, does she write rom-coms?
I don't think
Or
it's
is
just
it
like,
just funny?
I think
Like,
it's just funny. Like, I don't even really honestly keep it at 100. Like, I don't think she's intending for it to be a rom-com. It's just the way, like, it was one scene where they were talking about chitlins and it had me dying. And so it's not like, I don't think it's necessarily romantic comedy. I just think people in the books are just like
they're
funny.
funny.
Yeah, they're
Mm-hmm.
funny. And then it was another thing. I gotta look it up. There was another Thanksgiving novella I made. It was funny, but it was messy. It was, it was, I think I read it. I think I read it last year. Maybe I read it in 2020. Um, the family, no, I read it in 2020. Basically, everybody comes to Thanksgiving dinner
Mm-hmm.
and then all the secrets drop. Like, and not great
Not
secrets.
in a good way.
No, 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 no. Not soul food and secrets.
And it's a Thanksgiving one. Ooh, I want more Thanksgiving ones.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not even, honestly, it's not even like, it's not it's no romance. It's just, there are romantic couples in this
Uh-huh.
book, but just the drama. It was because I wasn't expecting it. Because at that time in 2020, I was looking for Black romance books that had Thanksgiving themes.
Mm.
And that was one that had popped up when I was like, sure, it was on KU. I'm going to read it. And I
Mm-hmm.
read it and I was like, oh, that was not. I think in my review, I was like, this is not for the faint of heart. Like, this is not. Like, if you like drama, you like high stakes, this will be for you. But yeah, that one had me dying too. I was like,
Is that what
no.
you search? Like, how do you find them? Do you search like Black romance with
So
about
yeah, I
Thanksgiving?
do, but you have to do it so often to train the algorithm.
Mm.
So now Amazon's algorithm recommends me Black romance. As soon as I get in
Okay.
there and I get into KU,
Mm-hmm.
it automatically recommends Black romance in whatever theme.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to train the algorithm to know that that was what I was looking for, because it would
Mm-hmm.
literally give me, like, I would type in Black romance or even type in African American romance, and it would give
Mm-hmm.
me everything under the sun. And
Right.
eventually, by me like playing around with KU, checking stuff out, and reviewing certain things, it pushes certain content at me now.
Mm. So
Yeah,
reviewing it helps. Okay.
yeah.
That's good. A book you used to love but maybe reread recently and realized it wasn't that good. I feel like you've done a lot of rereading.
I've done a lot of rereading, and this year alone, I've done a lot of rereading and have
Mm-hmm.
realized, like, not that good. A Wrinkle in Time I reread, and
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah, no, it was not as good as a kid. Like, I didn't enjoy it as much.
Mm-hmm.
That was a huge one for me because I remember loving that book and loving the made for TV movie
Oh
adaptation.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and no, that was it. That was not it.
So disappointing when that happens. All right, a romance character who you relate to the most.
The first sister in the Love Sister series. Her book. Don't ask me her name. But that
I
energy
wouldn't know
and
either.
that vibe, like I'm not as volatile anymore. But I definitely like that. That energy. Like I like that energy was everything. Yeah.
I know, I'm afraid to read childhood favorites for that reason too. I'm scared.
Yeah.
All right, steamiest romance you've ever read.
What is the steamiest romance I've ever read?
I guess that you consider steamy, because that's pretty. Also, people consider steamy different things.
I mean, come on now. Priest was pretty.
I
Like, I'm trying to rack my brain for anything that has touched that since, but I don't think anything has touched that.
The first scene that they have together, where she like comes over and it's like an almost situation, that one is one of the steamiest scenes, and it like nothing too intense happens, but the intensity of that
Like,
moment.
even listening to his thoughts,
I know.
that's why I was like, yo, like, even he, like, I'm like, do I want to be with Poppy? Like, he had me questioning a lot of things. And so I feel like, yeah, that definitely has been one of the, I think it's also because of the nature of the topic, though.
Yeah.
That made it kind of like, yo, whoa, this is kind of hot.
Well, it's taboo and it's forbidden, and it's, yeah.
I
All of
mean,
that
I
adds to
also
it.
thought Rail by the Easter Bunny was kind of steamy.
I mean,
I
Your Dad
did.
Will Do is pretty freaking steamy.
Yeah, I thought there's a scene that's very much so like he kind of had to take ownership of her in front of more whatever these things were. I don't know what anybody was. I don't know if
Bunnies.
they were human or not human completely. I don't think anybody was truly human in that book except her. Um, but it was some things that she was like doing and saying while they were in this group setting, and
Oh boy.
everybody was like, it's very voyeuristic
I was
type
gonna say,
of,
boy.
yeah, it was very voyeuristic, and I was like, I mean, granted, like you're screwing an Easter bunny, but this is low key hot. Like, sometimes I read some of these books and I'm like, if I ever told anybody like outside of y'all, like, hey, go to work. Yeah, I was reading, this woman was screwing the Easter bunny. They'd be like, are you okay? What's going on there?
Like, I have friends outside of like the bookish community, who follow me on Goodreads, and my best friend is one of them, and she reads romance, but not
Yeah.
near the amount that I do. She
Yeah.
mostly reads sci-fi and stuff, but she has like taken a screenshot of books that I've read recently, and she's like, girl, what are you reading?
I mean, I had people at work who follow me on Goodreads.
So they saw you read Railed by the Easter and Priest, a love story. I know. This is what I'm saying.
I mean, my manager also follows me on Instagram. So when I had put up an Instagram story where it was the mermaid book and the Easter bunny, and I was like, these have both been great. And I was like, I forget that sometimes I forget that she follows me until I'll go to work the next day and she'd be like, so what's going on? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Instagram. I'm like, can you stop? Because I forget that you follow me.
Can you not?
You just don't tell me that. Don't say anything. I forget that you follow me.
I know, like, judge me from afar, but don't tell me.
Listen, so when I go off on Instagram, I'm like, I never think about the fact that my boss is watching me curse people out.
Right.
But yeah, I'm sure people have looked at my reading choices and have been like, what you got going on? Nothing. I mean, it works. It works.
Exactly. Well, go ahead.
I was recommending at work. I went to, after I read That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon, I went to work screaming to the high heavens, read the book. And we bought a copy. I was like, read.
Did you? That's great.
I was like, please read this book. And it went on a staff pick recommendations.
Yes. Oh my God.
So
Yeah.
sometimes it works in my favor.
I love it. Like my friend, because when she sent me that screenshot or whatever, and we were talking, I was like, this isn't even the worst one, because I think it was like Jack, and it was a Halloween, like a Jack o' Lantern romance or something that I had read. But she sent me a screenshot of that. I was like, that's not even the worst one. And then I sent her a screenshot of Kissing the Coronavirus. And I was like, I read this book. And I was like, it's 16 pages long. And she's like, what the heck? And she's like, why are you wasting precious reading time on this? And then but then right afterwards, she was like, so like, does he turn into a human? And I'm like, that's why I read it, because I needed to know what the hell happened.
Because you know what, honestly, because people ask, like, because I've had people ask me, like, with the mermaid book, like, so how does that? And I'm just like, oh, it works.
You gotta read it.
And it works well.
Yeah.
Read to find out how it works.
Exactly. Like, you can't question me when you're asking these questions.
Nope, you get curious, then you're like, oh, wait,
especially when they're short. It's like 16 pages, 40 pages, 100. It's like,
that's a lunch break read.
I know. Exactly.
Yeah, that's a lunch break read.
Okay. What is your favorite romance subgenre?
You know, okay. Can I answer this in two ways?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I read a lot of contemporary,
Mm-hmm.
but I would love to read more fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Just out of curiosity.
Oh, yes. Seated by Santa with Smuts and some people. I'm not as I've told many people, like JT, I have to tell JT, my husband, every single ridiculous book I read. And I've read it. I actually had him listen to a couple of scenes from Priest, because I'm like, there are some great scenes in this. I'm just like, the most ridiculous books, I have to read certain scenes to him because they're hilarious. I don't think I told her about Seated by Santa, but I might send that to her and make her read it.
Please.
Okay, so what did you say? You said you read mostly contemporary, but you want to read
contemporary, but I want to read more fantasy.
Fantasy romance?
Yeah.
I don't read a lot of fantasy romance. I tend to lean more towards contemporary.
Yeah.
But I think it's because the world building gets me, and I get bogged down with that. I like fantasy romances where the fantasy part isn't as
it's not as heavy.
Yeah. Because then I get bored and my mind starts wandering. I can't focus on it. So, favorite tropes in romance.
Ooh. I like hate to love.
Mm-hmm.
I like second chance. I didn't realize how much I do like second chance romance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I also like what is it called? Marriage in
Trouble?
Yeah, like Marriage in Trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I like that. I don't know why I have found myself like gravitating towards stuff like that, because it feels so real.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm all about, which is hence why I read a lot of realistic fiction. Like it feels very true to what could possibly be happening in people's lives. Yeah, I do like a good second chance romance. I really do. Really, really do.
Yeah, and they can be pretty emotional too, especially Marriage in Trouble can get super emotional.
Super emotional. Shay Sanders has one that's a Marriage in Trouble that I ended up really enjoying because of that.
Mm-hmm. What about your least favorite tropes?
Childhood friends to lovers. I can't. I can't do it. I've read them, but I think for me, logically, and that's probably like hands down. Anytime I get asked this question, I'm like, I really can't seem to get into that, because I'm like, so nobody at any point in like the 20 years that you have known each other, nobody thought like maybe this could be a thing, or it's gone 20 years and nobody's tried it. I know it can happen, but I struggle with that one so much. I think if it's aged up, like I've seen it where like they've been like college, like they met each other in college and they've been friends, and it kind of hasn't really happened until they become older. But childhood friends, no.
Yeah.
No. You've had 20 plus years. I can't believe it. Like, 20, you're telling me 20 years has gone by and not a single person has made any, like, no, like, no. Then all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, I've been in love with this person for 20 years. And I'm like, what the hell have you been doing?
See, it works better for me if there's like, if they haven't known each other that whole time, like if they maybe knew each other as kids, separated, went through, like didn't really think about it, and then, but yeah, I could see like if they've been friends or something for that long,
Stop.
Stop. So I feel like I'm very curious how you fit reading into your schedule. Like, do you have a set schedule? You just listen to audiobooks a lot?
I have a very strict schedule. Which I'm sure you understand, having kids, like it just helps to have, and I don't want to say strict. I have a routine. Routine sounds better. Just because routine, she's used to routine, and she gets like tonight was one of those nights where she was like, what are you doing?
Right.
Like, we don't do this. This is not how we operate. And so typically what I do is I can walk you through a day. When I get up in the morning and I am working out, I usually don't have the audio on. So I'm listening to an audiobook in the morning when I work out. I listen to an audiobook while I'm making my lunch and getting her stuff ready for school. When I go take a shower, when I'm getting ready for work.
Is she sleeping during this whole time? Like, what is she doing
the whole time?
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, she loves to sleep. She will not get up, honestly, until, like, when I have my clothes on, like I'm putting on my last little bit of clothes, is when she'll walk out her room.
Oh my gosh, that's so nice.
It is nice.
Even when she was little?
She sleeps through the night because she doesn't nap during the day.
Oh my gosh,
she's not a napper. So it works out my advantage in some ways and not so much in other ways. But she sleeps through the night. She doesn't wake up unless she's sick. That's the only off time. But she won't get up until I'm pretty much ready to go, and then it's her turn to get dressed and all that stuff. Dropping her off to school, of course, we're listening to her music.
Ed Sheeran.
Ed Sheeran album. When I'm on my way to work, I'm listening to an audiobook. Depending upon what the task is for work, usually if I'm doing ordering, I don't necessarily listen to an audiobook because I have to read reviews at the same time, so it just doesn't work. But if it's a normal day, I'm listening to an audiobook during my lunch break. I am very intentional about either reading on my Kindle or reading a physical book. And then when we get home, I run us through our usual routine, whatever we do together. And she's usually down by 8:00. That's kind of like our go time. Like she's down by 8. And if I don't have any recording or editing or anything to do, or any live shows, then I make an effort to read physically. So my reading physically is really, or off my Kindle, is limited to evening times and during my lunch break. But all the other times I'm listening to audio, and I have a job where I'm not interacting. So I used to work front facing, where I had to interact with patrons. Now I'm not. I'm in the back dealing with cataloging and processing and ordering and fixing this, and this needs a new tag and this needs a new label, and book lists and blog posts and stuff like that. So audiobook listening is a norm for all of us. Like you see, we all have headphones in it all the time. So
people just like laugh out loud occasionally.
Or they'll stop and be like, this book is ridiculous. Like one of my coworkers, she was listening to one of Carmen Maria Machado's books. I forget what other one that she did. It's a short story collection, and it's a lot. And she stopped and she walked by and she was like, I'm getting really emotional. I was like, turn it off. You think, turn it off. But I don't turn it off. This is not work. Is not be listening to that. Do that while you're at home. So like, we're all listening to stuff. You see us walking around and working, and we all had headphones in. So I love that. Like, how are you a parent and you work full time and you're reading
Yeah.
like 30 books a month, and it's like, well,
Audiobook.
audiobooks, and then a lot of my physical reading is comics, manga, and
Yeah.
graphic novels, and those don't really take me long to process. So I'm very intentional about getting my reading time in, not because of booktube or anything, but it's my hobby and my safe
Yeah,
space.
your
So
enjoyment.
it's my enjoyment. So I'm gonna make time. The same way people when they get home and they're like, "Oh, I gotta catch my favorite sitcom or TV
Mm-hmm.
shows," is the same way. It's like, "Oh, I gotta sit down and pick up the book that I was currently reading."
Right. And I
Yeah.
intentionally, like, if I catch myself scrolling on my phone too long, I'm like, no, I want to read. Like,
Oh
this
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
like, I
I'll
purposely will be
purposely,
like,
yep.
nope.
I put a sleep. So I have a sleep thing on my phone now, like sleep focus.
Mm-hmm.
So I put sleep focus on my phone. So intentionally, it just is kind of like you need to be focusing on winding down. And so,
Mm-hmm.
like, for instance, when I go upstairs and I get ready for bed, like I probably will be listening to an audiobook as I get ready for bed.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, okay, I can read a few chapters or something when I get in the bed,
Mm-hmm.
lights out, and then set my, my 30-minute timer on an audiobook and go to sleep. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like that, literally. The only
Mm-hmm.
time I stay up all night reading is during the weekends because
Yeah.
it's
All
the
hell
weekend.
breaks loose.
All
Yes.
hell breaks loose. Yeah.
What's the last book that gave you a book hangover?
I haven't had a book hangover in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest with you, I really haven't. And it wasn't a book that, I mean, the last time I haven't had a book hangover. And I had a reading slump because of the move, because my mind was
Mm.
in other places. But um, I think a book that I am struggling with that has potential to cause some issues for me that I have put down continuously is Amari and the Great Game.
Really?
Yes.
You're not like my daughter. I haven't read it. My daughter is obsessed with Amara, and she's reading that one right now, and she's loving it. What do you not like about it, or
It's a,
what are you struggling with?
it's I think it just kids love it clearly. And reading
Mm-hmm.
it as an adult, I'm struggling with a lack of support system
Ah.
for a young Black girl.
Mm.
And so it's and I feel like I've said this on every live show I've been on in like the past couple weeks because everybody's like, Ashley, have you finished Amari? Have you finished Amari? And I'm like, because my patrons are supposed to be getting a vlog of me reading both. And I finished the first one and was like,
Mm-hmm.
loved it, of course, loved it. And then I get into the second one, I'm like, what's going
Mm.
on? She just can't catch a break.
Mm.
And she's going through, but I keep being told like it's worth it, but it's just hard seeing her basically be betrayed by so many people. And I don't know whether that's just me as a parent or me, me projecting things that I have gone through as a child, but
Mm.
that one has potential to give me a book hangover, and which is why I kind of stepped away
Right.
from it for a little while.
I think when there's a lot of stuff like that happening and a lot of betrayals and things, it keeps young kids' attention
Yeah.
better. Because I know that Rory, she likes to have a lot of stuff happening like back
Yeah.
to back, and she doesn't
Mhm.
like the lulls in between. And I think that's something maybe you grow out of.
Yeah.
So that could be. What are you currently reading besides that book?
Jeez, what am I currently reading? Everything. Everything. Um, House of Hunger by
Mhm.
Alexis Henderson. Um, Reading Shay Sanders' book, They Never Tell. Um, Let me think about. I think honestly, besides Amari and the Great Game, that is all I'm actively working on, which is a surprise.
No manga. Anything in the tote bag?
So I just got okay. So I was in the middle of Fire in His Fingertips,
Mm-hmm.
which is just super smutty. But great. It's great. But volume 2 went out of print.
Mm.
And so I kept waiting. I stopped. I was in the middle of volume 1. I still had my bookmark in it. And I was waiting and waiting and waiting because I was like, oh, like, I don't want to finish this. And then it's going to be months. And it literally has been months since I've been able to get my
Mm.
hands on volume 2. But I just was able to get volume 2 in 3.
Oh.
and I could really use some smutty, just dirty, explicit on page art.
I don't think I've ever read a smutty manga, and I think Izzy said that she'll send me some that I
Oh,
can
she
read.
needs to send you some because listen, I was like, so is this like sex on page
Mm-hmm.
manga? And they were like, yeah. I was like,
Like
oh,
in the pictures and everything
oh yeah, in the
too.
pictures. Oh
Oh
yeah.
my.
Oh
Okay.
yeah. That's what I said too. When I read it, like, because Izzy told me, Izzy and Shay told me, like, when I read Fire in His Fingertips,
Mm-hmm.
because he's a firefighter, um, and he rescues her, and they clearly have like this attraction to each other. That it was a lot, like 10 pages in. It
Oh,
was, yeah, 10 manga pages at that.
right.
10 manga pages, and I was like, oh wow. So like, I mean, he's like sticking his hand there, her leg is this way, and it's like, I was like,
Oh.
oh my god. Oh my god.
I can imagine how that works better in manga sometimes, because sometimes it's hard for me to picture some of the positions that they're in and the places that they're in.
Oh, there's no
Like,
trouble
how does
there.
that work?
Oh, they're making it work. And then I'm like, oh wow, like turning like, oh wow, like it's definitely nothing but pure smut.
That's great.
So I may, because they just came in, so I'm like, I may go ahead and read volumes 1 through 3 of that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right. What are one of your romance hot takes? Unpopular opinion, perhaps.
My hot takes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. But I'm like this with everything.
I know that's true. You have a lot of whole videos that are hot takes.
Get our hot takes on stuff. Listen. I guess I would like sometimes. This is a super hot take. This is a super hot take. And I'm trying to figure out how to word it, but it's gonna have to come out the way it comes out. You cannot be a romance expert or a romance guru or top tier romance reader if you do not at least try it all. You've got to try it all. You can be an expert in one area or an expert in this place,
Mm-hmm.
but if you actively avoid certain things, and not saying that you can't be like, that's too much for me or whatever the case may be, but I think that I've seen that a lot with Black romance in the romance side of, and I'm not really, I kind of be dipping my toes in and, like peeking behind the corner and in, behind the curtain in y'all's community. But I think sometimes I wish that, and not just Black romance authors, 2 Black people on
Right.
page.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't speak for any other group that is marginalized because that is not my lived experience. Yeah. But for me, I think I struggle with that and not passing around the same Black romance. I love me some Christina C. Jones.
Mm-hmm. Kennedy Ryan. Mm-hmm.
And Kennedy Ryan. But let's be honest, that like, you got to explore beyond those boundaries because there is a huge historical significance behind Black love and why people push it so much. When you think about historically how the Black nuclear family was treated and how its effects are long lasting even in 2022, then you grow to appreciate why seeing not just, oh yeah, well, I read Black romance writers. No. Seeing 2 Black people on page in a romance is very important because historically that was not allowed. Mm-hmm. Those families were separated and torn apart and they weren't even allowed to get married. Mm-hmm. They couldn't share in having this union in this HEA. It didn't exist. Mm-hmm. So being able to see that in such a positive light, knowing that Black love does exist because you listen to certain things, they'll tell you, like, oh, Black couples don't exist like that. Everybody's
Mhm.
divorced, or, we nothing but a bunch of baby mamas, baby
Right,
daddy.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah, the stereotypes that often get associated with the Black community without realizing that these relationships and family dynamics do exist.
Mhm.
And so it is very healthy for these things to, and that can go for any marginalized group.
Mhm.
It's very important to see that when historically that has been kind of ripped from that group.
Right.
And so sometimes I feel like I just want people to understand why some people advocate so much, maybe not in the way that they understand, and maybe it's not being said in the way that I just said it, but that's where that energy comes from, is that, it's sharing in that Black joy that people don't often give us sometimes.
Yes.
um, and wanting people to explore outside. And I love Christina with my all my heart and soul. I think
Mhm.
she's one of the best, not just romance. I think she's just one of the best writers to do
Mm.
it. To be
And
honest with
she's
you,
great with marketing and
and
everything too.
she's
Like her
great.
YouTube channel, when she's very thoughtful about
She
how she does.
is. She's an amazing human, and I admire her. And I would fangirl if I ever met that woman face to
Yeah.
face.
Mhm.
Just as much as I would fangirl girl over any other traditionally published author. Like, to be doing this by
Mhm.
herself is
Yes.
mind blowing. But I think that one of the things that I have seen is that we latch on to, and I'm going to say we because I don't ever like to not include myself because
Mhm.
I am part of this community. But one
Mhm.
of the things that I think we do is we latch on to certain authors to count for our diversity points and don't
Mhm.
explore beyond that. And I don't know whether it's a fear, I don't know whether it's not knowing what looks like good representation or not. Like,
Mm.
and I understand that, but there are people out there that'll give you the recommendations, or people who have created the content for the recommendations. You just got to be willing to do a little bit of research on your end.
Mhm.
But I think that,
Yeah, find the people who are reading those books.
who are reading those things, and there are plenty of people in the romance community who are reading those things.
Mhm.
I just wish, and it's not just in booktube, you see that on TikTok too. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? Like, so
Mhm.
I just wish that it was, um, something that people considered, because I'm a huge advocate, read what you want to read, but be mindful of what labels you give yourself,
Right. Mhm.
because it's very
Mhm.
indicative of what you are truly reading. I don't, you can't
Mhm.
give yourself certain labels when you're really not out here doing and fulfilling the entire requirements of that label.
Mhm.
So,
And I know you're speaking just from a Black love point of view because of
mhm.
your lived experience, but I really do think that goes across all
Yeah,
marginalized communities. Because as someone who, chronic illness and disability,
yeah,
that's kind of my thing. I think that is the same thing. I mean, we kind of latch on to the Chloe Lease, and that's great. She's amazing,
yeah,
and she's out there, and people are reading her books and suggesting them and everything. But also, a lot of what you're saying kind of works with disability too. It's part of
yeah,
the reason why Avery and I
yeah.
have
Your
our
book
chronically
club.
courageous book club,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's so hard to find adult
Mhm.
romance with disability with open door sex scenes, because people who are disabled can have sex and be sexy and be happy
Yeah,
too, even when they're in a wheelchair, they're blind, or they have some sort of disability, like,
yeah,
or chronic illness. And to find a book where that's not the plot of it, and that's not
yeah,
the whole plot point, like where it's just someone who has this disability but also has a
yeah.
love story.
Living, yep,
So i
living their
feel
truth.
like i feel like it kind of goes across the board.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I can only hope that eventually it will. I have hope that eventually it will get better. I know
yeah.
that sometimes it's kind of hard, but there are people out there that are doing the footwork and the
Hmm.
groundwork to, make sure, they're advocating or uplifting voices that need to be heard. And, um, like y'all's book club, for example, you know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
stuff like that being a good resource. I just hope that one day, eventually, people feel more comfortable stepping outside of their comfort, because it does take a
Yeah.
lot of
Hmm.
stepping out of your comfort zone, because it's not your lived experience. And so sometimes reading about something or experiencing something that you're not used to can make you feel uncomfortable.
Hmm.
But I always tell people, change happens in discomfort. That
Yeah.
is that is the purpose. That's when things really begin to change. But you have to have the courage to want to experience that discomfort as well. And I think everybody's journey is different. Um, but I hope one day we do get to that point where, that, we don't have to keep having these same conversations about,
Right.
let's, make sure we're reading from a variety of perspectives, and
Right.
that it's good representation, and we're not just latching onto one author and
Right.
cycling that author around the, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
it's good when we can boost somebody up and then, they make their rounds, but it's like, what about, like, for example, like, I wish that more people were reading Ashley Nicole.
Mhm.
Like, I really like, I just, she's great at what she does. Like, her humor is great. And it's just like, I can only uplift but so much by
Right.
myself.
Right.
But if there were more people willing to kind of push the boundaries and explore something that's a little bit different, which is really not that different. It's,
Mhm.
it's not that different, but it is,
Mhm.
my
Yeah.
next push is going to be for people to try street lit.
So give me an example of street lit. Like what are some books
Oh,
that
so street lit would be like, the author that I cling to the most is Ashley Antoinette.
Mhm.
Um, I am currently reading, and they kind of like, they're kind of hard to pinpoint sometimes as romance all the time. Sometimes they just have
Mm.
romantic elements to them.
Mhm.
But it's been a discussion on Twitter. It's been a discussion probably on TikTok. Like, they're not super far removed from, but people are like, oh, I love mafia romance. And then you
Right, I was
offer
gonna say.
street lit, and they're like, no, I could never do that. And I'm like, but really, it's not that different.
Right.
It's really not that far removed. Um, but yeah, I mean, it took me a while to get into my groove of reading street lit. And right now, I mean, I definitely cling to Ashley Antoinette because that's who I'm most comfortable with. But I think that, that's also an area that, um BookTube as a whole doesn't really touch street lit, to be honest with
Mhm.
you. You're not gonna find many booktubers that are like, oh yeah, I read street lit. It's just
Mhm.
not a thing. And so, I'm hoping to read more myself and kind of introduce that to people.
Mhm.
It's worth a read. It's wild now. If you like high stakes,
Mhm.
we're talking about high stakes and drama.
Mhm. See, I
But
get stressed out. It gives me anxiety sometimes.
yeah, it's like high stakes drama, but like, like lovable characters. Like her in Ashley Antoinette's Ethics series, like the main character, like you are very, you feel for him because you feel like the poor man just can't catch a break.
Mm.
And so it's the same elements as any other book, but I feel like because people have a certain I don't know, a certain idea of what they think it is, they don't give it a
Mhm.
chance.
I don't think I even what is the official definition for it? Like what classifies something as street
I
lit?
don't even want to go into an
Okay.
official because I could tell you what the Library of Congress does it, and it's low key racist, to be honest with you. The
Mm.
definition, I call it street lit. It's been known as like urban,
Yeah, I was
like if
gonna
you
say it's classified as urban on
urban.
Goodreads. Or, mm.
I don't, because the way that Library of Congress defines urban is just, it's heinous the way that they
Mm.
define it. I would definitely say like it's not far removed from mafia romance. You find a lot of those same themes and elements
Mhm.
where it is high stakes. Um
Is
you
it
have
dark? Like
it is dark.
okay.
It is dark. Oh yeah, because I'm thinking about, I just finished Ethic 2 not too
Mhm.
long ago, and it is pretty dark.
Mhm.
Just the themes and the elements that are included, violence on page. Um,
Mhm.
this one I think is leading more towards like a revenge plot
Mm.
because somebody killed somebody without realizing who they were connected to, and now a person's out of jail
Mm.
trying to take revenge on the fact.
Mm.
But they're good. Like,
Mhm.
they're really fast paced, higher energy books, but I think they just have gotten such a bad name. And I don't know. I mean, I know how. I won't even get into that, but
Mhm.
I'm hoping to explore it more than what I have explored because I read it here and there, but I don't even think people realize that that's what
Mm.
it is that I'm reading. But I'm
Mhm.
hoping to explore it more to kind of expose the community a little bit more to a genre that maybe they're not used to.
Mhm. All right, we have two more questions.
Okay.
All right. So, Who are your top 3 love interests?
Fictional or real?
Fictional. You have 3 love interests right
now? I mean, no, I meant, listen. No.
Does the guy know this?
I thought maybe like we were saying like real, like in like, like a celebrity, like love interest,
no.
like, okay, fictional love. Okay.
Like romance, like romance novel love interest.
Okay.
Ashley said I have options.
I have options. Like, no. Because he likes to hop on live shows and not tell me that he's present. So there's no telling. Okay, what brother? I'm gonna get this wrong. It is the 4th book in Alexandra House's series. I can't remember which brother, the McLean brothers. I can't remember which brother this is, but it's the 4th book.
4th book brother.
Yes, the 4th book.
I only read the 1st book in that series.
I love that man.
What do you love about him?
Oh my gosh, what is there not to love? He just has this, it's the way that he talks about Black women and his appreciation for Black women. And oh my gosh. It's just, the intellect. Oh gosh. I thought I loved Big South. And then I read the rest of the books and I got to his and I was like, oh, Big South, you have lost your position. You have lost your position.
Been kicked out.
Oh, he got kicked to the curb real quick. Let me think. This is hard, brain.
I know.
I should have definitely asked you for these questions. This is ridiculous. I'm sitting here just confused about life. Oh.
Yes, it's the one with the brothers.
Yes, that is the one with the brothers. King from Annie Up.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yes.
I love the heroine in that one too.
Yes. And you know what? Just because it's going to keep reminding me to read the book, I'm going to go with Pike.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Last question. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Screw, marry, kill those 3 love interests. So you have the 4th book, brother, King, and Pike.
Oh, well, we'll kill Pike.
Poor Pike. Bye, Pike.
Screw King.
Only Screw King. Well, I haven't read the other book, so I don't know. And then you'll marry.
Because listen, because I can't. After reading it, I have to marry that man. Like that was easy for me.
I might have to. Can I read that book on its own, or should I finish the series? Because I only read the 1st book.
It's also one of those things where
You appreciate it more.
You appreciate it more because he makes an appearance, or he's talked about in the first 3 books, and everybody seemingly has a problem with him and his behavior. But when you get to his book, you understand why.
I love that.
Yeah, you understand why he struggled, because he's out of the 4 of them, he's struggled the most and he's had it the hardest. And I think that's probably part of his appeal for me too, is that it's finally revealed why he's had so many issues. And so you get to see that, and then just he just, oh my goodness gracious. It's great.
I have to finish that series. Those are on audio, right?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure they are.
Those are on audio.
All right, that was the last one. This has been the longest one so far, but I feel like
this has been the longest one.
But I feel like I had so many follow-up questions. I was like, wait, tell me more. But thank you everybody for hanging out with us. Thank you so much for giving me your very precious, precious time. So thank you guys. Yay, I'm glad you had fun too. All right, have a good night, everybody.
Night.